Chapter 1843. To be able to destroy an entire large star field with one move, perhaps only the combined power of all the true gods in the history of the human race could accomplish such a feat. The three heads of the bloodthirsty devil monarch revealed a look of lingering fear and said, "Motherf asterisk cur." Fortunately, this brat only appeared now. The gods of the human race fell into our trap. Otherwise, the gods would have joined hands with him. Or if he had appeared a few eras earlier, the human race might have led the great war of the 9 races. The Calamity Demon Emperor agreed. He's so young, but he's bound to cause trouble. All of the devil emperors felt pressure towards Lin Chun from the bottom of their hearts. Even their murderous intent grew. Killing the empress was no longer their primary goal. Their primary goal was the human Lin Chun. The empress's eyes were filled with shock and confusion. She stared at Lin Chun and muttered to herself, "He actually is such a killer move. He actually used such a powerful killer move on the sky-burying demon emperor. How was Lin Chun going to deal with her, the demon empress of this generation?" Her thoughts were in a mess. Lin Chun, who was hovering in the air, was panting. His blood seemed to have stopped flowing, his bones were throbbing in pain, his blood was sucked dry, and his body was trembling. The immortal Godhead's power flowed into his body, replenishing his lost blood. Compared to the last time when he fainted after activating the divine elephant Godhead, Lin Chun was much better this time. The immortal Godhead could replenish his lost blood, but could not reduce the weakness after using the divine elephant Godhead. He looked at the flattened firmament star field with a pale and excited face. Everywhere he looked, there were attribute light balls. Firmament star field was known as a star field that had never been fully explored. There were many unexplored areas and galaxies. Now, everything was reduced to nothingness. Those secret realms with hidden opportunities, treasure lands with hidden opportunities, and small galaxies with hidden secrets were all crushed into Lin Chun's attribute light balls. The dark void in the eyes of the demon emperors was bright and dazzling in Lin Chun's eyes. They were all attribute light balls. Divine elephant Godhead activation completed. Consumed 40 billion top-grade heavenly Tao points. Cooldown time, 210 days. When the system screen appeared, more than half of Lin Chun's heavenly Tao points had been consumed. Before Lin Chun could release the Dragon King to collect the elemental light ball, his body stiffened and his eyes widened in shock. It can't be. The grayish-white demonic chi twisted into a vortex and slowly appeared in the void. Demonic chi spread out in all directions, residing in this space-time in a strange way. Seeing that the situation was not good, the 4 great elders of the Devil Cultivator clan were about to flee when their bodies suddenly stiffened and their pupils shrank in fear. The heaven-burying devil emperor's sinister laughter reverberated through the sky once more. "Lin Chun, this emperor is willing to call you the strongest. Shatter the remains of the demon god king that this emperor has dominated. This round, you win." But before the human experts could rejoice, the phenomenon suddenly changed. "Oh, my devil blood is flowing in reverse. No, my cultivation base and the devil blood I condensed." The 4 great elders of the Devil Cultivator clan let out shrill screams. Their bodies were like balloons that were constantly expanding, and blood was bubbling all over their bodies. Their demonic chi churned and surged, letting out a low, gurgling sound as if something terrible was brewing in their bodies. "Oh no, there's something else in the honorable elder's bloodline." The Water Empress's reaction was extremely fast. She raised the devil saber in her hand and slashed out a blood moon saber beam. The saber beam flashed and swept away everything. The beautiful lady in a red dress, who was closest to the 4 great elders, flicked her finger and 10,000 flames turned into a dragon. It spun and attacked the 4 great elders of the Devil Cultivator clan. In the end, she was still one step too late. Bam! 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 The 4 great elders exploded in the air. Countless blood and chi bloomed like fireworks and shot in all directions. Blood and chi danced like dragons. Heaven-burying devil emperor, you old bastard, old fox. You really never planned to keep your promise. Bastard, you bastard. Before the four great elders died, they let out a shrill and miserable cry. The blood of the honorable elders twisted their blurry faces and let out a monstrous evil laughter. Even the devil emperors felt an inexplicable fear. Whoosh! The blood and chi seemed to have a mind of their own. It split into countless streams of light. The water empress wanted to slash again, but the heaven-burying devil emperor was faster. His demonic chi twisted into a whirlpool and swallowed all the blood and chi of the honorable elders. When the demonic chi gathered again, boom! A glassy demonic chi sank into the light of heaven and earth. It devoured all the aura of living beings and the four great elders. It soared into the sky, shaking the universe and the star field. The heaven-burying devil emperor's figure appeared again. His demonic body was full of wounds, but he still had a strong vitality. All of this originated from the huge black demonic tail behind him. The demonic tail was full of cracks, and it was beating like a heart. A jade-like brilliance sewed up the cracks of the demonic tail, and a glassy demonic chi rolled out majestically. It was the other part of the demon god king's body that was left in the devil race. Lin Shan said in surprise, "Is this the demon god king's body that I destroyed?" The bloodthirsty devil emperor saw this scene from afar and said in shock, "Heaven-burying, you still can't *king die like this?" The heaven-burying devil emperor grinned sinisterly and said with a strange smile, "I have to thank these idiots for bringing the demon god king's body here. Moreover, each of them brought a part of the demon god king's body. How stupid. This emperor is destined to not die here. Haha." In reality, the heaven-burying devil emperor had not expected to take away the other part of the demon god king's body. Just now, he wanted to split up the demonic emperor blood and escape by force. He wanted to escape the battlefield, even if his cultivation fell. Only then did he discover an unexpected surprise. If it was so easy to get the third part of the demon god king's body, he would not have to go through so much trouble to pretend to cooperate with the devil race. When the heaven-burying devil emperor was at his peak, even if he had control of two demon god king's bodies, he did not dare to charge into the devil race and snatch the third demon god king's body. If he wanted to snatch it by force, there were at least four obstacles. Firstly, there were the four revered elders at their peak. Secondly, there would be devil emperors of the same race who would want to expose their trump cards in advance. Thirdly, the devil empress was in charge of the devil race, so snatching it by force was unrealistic. Fourthly, there was the obstruction of the ancient Aeon Dragon Seal. In summary, the heaven-burying devil emperor had no choice but to cooperate with the four revered elders at his peak. And coincidentally, the number one tiger of the sacred boundary, Lin Shun, broke into the devil race's hell galaxy and released the demon god king's body. He even smashed it into pieces. The four revered elders were already on guard against each other. No one was at ease handing over the demon god king's body to another, so they each took a part of it. This caused the demon god king's body to be stored in the bodies of the four revered elders. This was not enough. If it was only this, it would be impossible to snatch it by force. However, the four revered elders were beaten up by Lin Shun, who had activated the God Slayer talent. He fought with his life and continuously triggered the extinction rupture, causing irreversible injuries. Then, the four revered elders were besieged by the divine dragon, and their injuries were even more serious. Under many circumstances, the heaven-burying devil emperor had an opportunity to take advantage of. When he was on the verge of death, he activated a secret technique and allowed the demon god king's body to absorb the blood and chi of the four revered elders. Then it was absorbed into his body. He borrowed the devil blood and cultivation of the revered elders and used the third demon god king's body as a medium to completely transfer into his body and forcefully reverse the fate of heaven. The heaven-burying devil emperor's resurrection caused the battle to change again. Lin Chen frowned. So troublesome. Even a sticky candy with feces is not this troublesome. He can't die, even after being smashed into pieces? Chapter 1844. While the extraterritorial battlefield situation was changing, the sacred boundaries Wonder Domain was also changing. Wonder Domain, Fong Ling, and the others were defending Wonder Domain to the death. Lin Chen's servants were fighting on the front line. The Sacred Pagoda, Purple Cloud King Valley, Pill Region's Elder Guild, and the Auspicious Beasts were defending Wonder Domain without retreating. Among them, Lin Ping, and was at the forefront. No heavenly demon venerable or demon king could easily break into Wonder Domain. The Demon Man race and the Demon race placed their main forces in the heavenly sacred domain, War Domain, Sword Domain, Knife Domain, and other important regions. On the other hand, because of the geographical location of the Holy World, the Demon race and Demon Man race armies that the Mystic Domain faced were neither strong nor weak, forming a defensive line. This caused Wonder Domain to become one of the few areas that was not filled with internal war. Most of the battles were fought at the border. Therefore, many Pill regions' alchemists were gathered here. The Auspicious Beasts displayed their skills and gathered their providence in Wonder Domain. The Providence spirit plants grew wildly, and the alchemists refined Saint Pills without stopping. This place became the sacred boundary's safest healing area. Countless experts continued to pour in just when the battle was at its best, for demonic auras suddenly descended. Lin Ping and Fong Ling, Lang Fanyun, Jiang Taishu, and the others' expressions became serious. This demonic aura near Wonder Domain was at least at the level of Heavenly Demon Emperor. Heavenly Demon Emperor was equivalent to Reincarnation Saint Realm. It was the heaven-burying Devil Emperor's followers. For Reincarnation Saint Realm experts, the servants who had lost their saint artifacts found it difficult to defend against one, let alone four at the same time. At the border of Wonder Domain, the servants were floating in the air. Jiang Taishu pinched his fingers and immediately calculated. His expression changed slightly. They are heading straight for us. They will be here in less than 30 breaths. Not good. Fei Wuxuang said worriedly. If they kill their way into Wonder Domain, there will be endless trouble. There are still many experts healing here. Call the dragon race. Just as Fei Wuxuang finished speaking, Jiang Taishu crushed a spatial jade slip. After a few breaths, the spatial jade slip did not respond. Jiang Taishu's expression changed slightly. The experts of the dragon race could not find the time to help. After all, the human clan had to resist the attacks of the demon tribe and the demon clan, and the support of the dragon clan could not be pulled away, let alone the top experts. Fei Wuxuang clenched her teeth. The dragon race's powerhouses can't help, so we can only ask Master's avatar to help. Requesting Lin Chen's clone was the last resort. Once the four heavenly devil emperors entered the mystic domain, no one would be able to stop them. Xiaoling clenched her jade-like hands. No. Previously, the Lord said that he lacked sacred artifacts. Most of the areas in the sacred boundary have already been looted. All of the Lord's clones have already rushed out of the sacred boundary to loot the bodies of the experts who participated in the war outside. If we let the Lord's clones come now, it will be too late. You can't call Lin Chen over. At this time, Lin Ping, Anne's petite body floated in the air, facing the wind. She wasn't as mischievous as she used to be. Instead, her face was calm. She gently tucked her hair behind her ear and revealed a quiet smile. Fong Ling, Lang Fanyun, bring everyone back to the mystic domain and don't come out. Leave these four demons to me. Hearing this, all the servants' faces changed. Although Lin Ping, Anne's original body, was the pain calamity, everyone had long regarded her as a close companion. She was also deeply cared for by the Lord. The servant's stereotype of the pain calamity had long disappeared. If she was to deal with four heavenly devil emperors, there would only be one result. Jiang Taishu said in a low voice, Sister Ping In, I promise the Lord to look after you. I won't allow you to do such a thing. Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun quietly moved a step and blocked in front of Lin Ping. They wouldn't allow Lin Ping and to do such a foolish thing. Lin Ping smiled calmly. Thank you, everyone. After that, her slender finger tapped the space between her eyebrows. A dark crystal appeared. It was the disaster crystal core she obtained from the demon world. A series of Providence plant pouches appeared in her palm, and Lin Ping suddenly crushed them. All the Providence plants that helped her transfer disaster energy were turned into ashes. Boom! The seal of the pain calamity was completely lifted. A dark storm appeared out of thin air and revolved around Lin Ping. What? Sister Ping and don't. Fei Wuxuang and Xiao Ling screamed in fright, their delicate bodies trembling slightly. Her actions were done in one go, not giving the servants any time to react. Lin Ping smiled calmly. Everyone, leave quickly. I won't protect you this time. If you stay too long, you'll be eroded by my aura. Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun's pupils shrank. She was determined to leave. Lin Ping saw that everyone was slightly hesitant and said calmly, if you don't leave now, it'll be too late. Long Jioshan and the others gritted their teeth and pulled the hesitant Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun away. Lin Ping automatically lifted the seal, not to mention the heavenly devil emperors arriving later. If they continued to stay by her side without her protection, everyone would be eroded by the disaster energy. That's good. Before leaving, Lin Ping smiled and said to Jiang Taishu, thank you for not stopping me. Jiang Taishu wanted to say something, but stopped. In the end, it turned into a complicated sigh. After saying, take care, he stepped into the air and left. The servants left, leaving Lin Ping alone. It feels good to be born as a human. Lin Shun, thank you for giving me such a chance. I still want to help you, but this can only be the last time. Lin Ping, Anne's memories with Lin Chun surfaced, and a satisfied smile flashed across the corner of her lips. Boom, boom, boom. Her calamity energy continued to flow back into her body and was hidden deep within her body. In less than a moment, billowing demonic aura covered the stars and the moon. Demonic dragons wreaked havoc across the sky and earth. A red sun with rising demonic aura hung in the sky. Wonder Region, is this the human territory that Lord Demon Emperor wants us to destroy? This guy is not a demon. At this moment, the heavenly devil emperors of the 4 great wastelands had arrived. They were all winged and had human bodies. They looked like men in their 30s, except for their grayish-white skin and moving demonic eyes. Lin Ping took a step forward and stood in front of them. She said coldly, demons, your opponent is me. One of the heavenly devil emperors seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. Ha ha ha, with just you? You might not even be a match for the heavenly devil sovereigns under this emperor. And you want to fight this emperor? Call out those humans who were entrenched here. This emperor wants to kill them one by one. Another heavenly devil emperor said in surprise. Her energy is very similar to the disaster demons. The 4 heavenly devil emperors sensed Lin Ping, Anne's aura. They thought that the disaster demons were fighting with the humans. When they got closer, they realized that things were not that simple. The 3rd heavenly devil emperor came to a realization. This emperor remembers. This is the spirit body that the humans call the suffering disaster. Suffering disaster? Ha ha ha. Good stuff. Catch her and give her to those old guys. She could be exchanged for a lot of good stuff. The 4 heavenly devil emperors laughed sinisterly and stared at Lin Ping. Among the disaster demons, they needed to absorb the aura and energy of disaster on their own. Suffering disaster would automatically absorb all the disaster aura of the human race. Whether she was willing or not, the disaster of the human race would be concentrated on her. The two were fundamentally different. The suffering disaster was the favorite spirit body of the disaster demons. Unfortunately, the previous demon emperors had not been able to realize their dream. Today, they actually encountered it. The 4 heavenly devil emperors looked at Lin Ping, unlike a thief looking at a shiny gold ingot. Come here for this emperor. The leader of the heavenly devil emperors revealed his true form. His demonic energy condensed into a bloody mouth that swallowed Lin Ping, and like a bloody abyss. Defeating Lin Ping and was easy for them, but if they wanted to capture her alive, they would have to be more serious. The other three heavenly devil emperors immediately flashed behind Lin Ping and then blocked her escape route. Rumble. Suddenly, black wind rose above Lin Ping An's head. Her entire body erupted with a deep disaster aura in the shape of a vortex. It enveloped the four heavenly devil emperors in an instant. What? The four heavenly devil emperors turned pale with fright. You are not allowed to hurt my friends. Lin Ping An's consciousness used the last bit of strength to shout coldly. The terrifying disaster tide formed into a tornado, wreaking havoc in the sky at the border of the mystic realm and Xuanyu. The creatures of the two realms could be seen clearly. The four heavenly devil emperors felt as if they had fallen into a boundless swamp. They couldn't break free and were horrified. Their demonic bodies were rapidly corroded, and everything was eroded by the disaster aura. It was too fast. They couldn't react at all. The four heavenly devil emperors had underestimated the enemy too much. After they became heavenly devil emperors, they could be said to be second only to the arch and above all demons. They had even killed a lot of ordinary human sage kings. They didn't take many experts seriously at all, not to mention facing four heavenly devil emperors at the same time. With such a lineup, they could probably escape unscathed if they encountered a human quasi-god. If they fought in a battle formation, even if Lin Ping self-destructed her spirit body with all her strength, she could at most kill one of them. The strength of the painful disaster was that it was an extremely strong disaster energy that couldn't be shaken off. Once it was possessed, there was no way to get rid of it at all. They thought it was a weak little rabbit that could be easily captured. They didn't expect it to be a ferocious, big tiger. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying disaster energy continued to rise. The four heavenly devil emperors disappeared in the disaster tide, dying without even a trace. What's that? Hiss. The disaster tide, splitting heaven and earth. This is the sign of the outbreak of the painful disaster. It's going to explode. Thank goodness. It didn't explode on our side. It's good that it exploded. If it had exploded on our side at this critical juncture, we would have died without a complete corpse. I heard that the traitor Lin Shun brought the painful disaster with him. F***CK. There are indeed some dangerous creatures around this kid. The painful disaster is gone. Another stain on the human race has been temporarily removed. Countless human experts looked at the disaster tide surging in the sky with all kinds of gazes. Lin Ping, whose spirit body was disintegrating in the darkness, could feel that the gazes were piercing her like cold swords. After she was born with intelligence, she had endured far too many gazes like this. However, such a cold life had once shone with a brief ray of light. This is enough. I still helped him. Within the disaster's dark vortex, Lin Ping held her cheeks with both hands and squeezed out a smile with the gesture that Lin Shun had taught her when she first smiled. Lin Ping An's petite spirit body drifted out of the disaster's dark vortex. As her spirit body gradually disappeared, Lin Ping suddenly covered her mouth and trembled in the darkness. She tried her best not to cry out loud. As expected, I still don't want to die. I really want to live, but I can't help you like this. Chapter 1845. As long as the human race at the sacred boundary maintained its current state, the calamity of pain would never disappear. The symbol of pain would always exist. However, the spirit formed by energy would die, and the existence of Lin Pingon would disappear forever. The next time the calamity of pain appeared, it would have a new appearance and form. Jiang Taishu sighed as he looked at the border of mystic domain where the calamity continued to erupt. Once called the symbol of pain and calamity by the human race, he personally helped countless people of the two domains to survive. A famous hero, His name would be recorded in history. A nameless hero, buried in history. Jiang Taishu shouted coldly. After the 4 heavenly devil emperors, the devil race army in the southwest direction, follow and block them outside mystic domain. The servants looked determined, as if they were going to die. They were determined to defend mystic domain's last line of defense, while countless blood songs were being performed at the sacred boundary. In a huge nebula far away, many galaxies occupied it. However, they were scattered and no longer had their former glory. That great divine relic, which the gods and devil emperors had once called the God Emperor's relic, had now completely disappeared. Eternal silence descended on the nebula, as if it had been there since ancient times. In the battlefield outside the realm, the heroes were shocked. Even the devil emperors were dumbfounded by heaven-bearing devil emperor's change of fate. He didn't die after taking a hit from the divine elephant. The current heaven-bearing devil emperor used the last remaining fragment of the devil god king's body to reverse fate and come back to life. Even if he wasn't at his peak, his battle strength was still at 70 to 80%. The 4 venerable elders of the demon cultivator race, the 4 ambitious and ruthless characters who had founded the demon cultivator race, had schemed and even betrayed the entire demon cultivator race. In the end, they had ended up as someone else's dowry. The Empress was about to fly over with heaven-bearing devil emperor as her target, when the killing intent of the 6 devil emperors rose sharply. They suddenly moved with Lin Shun as their target. Damn it, the Empress cursed softly. She pulled her devil blade and forcefully stopped the 6 devil emperors. Unbridled calamity, myriad poison tide. The calamity devil emperor, who was the embodiment of calamity energy, suddenly exploded with devilish energy. Devilish light shrouded the sky and covered the earth, absorbing the moon and stars. The calamity poison tide, which was 2 times more ferocious than before, rushed toward the great empress. This was the calamity demon emperor's ultimate move. When the water empress attacked with her saber, heaven fiend demon monarch, who was the fastest among them, shot through the void world and broke through the encirclement of the water empress. You want to leave? The great empress glared at him with rage in her eyes, and her saber intent became even sharper. The other 4 demon emperors, led by demon emperor Scourge, frantically unleashed their trump cards to stop the great empress. We have to protect Lin Shun, even if we have to die. Royal Divine Dragon exchanged a look, and all the Divine Dragons understood and charged into the extraterritorial battlefield. Heavenly Fiend Star Shattering Break. The Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch flashed toward them, and a pair of silver wings sprouted from his back. With a flap of his wings, a ferocious devilish energy condensed into a saber light that could cut through 1,000 layers of planes. He attacked the 5 divine dragons head-on. This sudden and sinister killing move was brutal and violent, forcing the 5 divine dragons to defend themselves. Royal Divine Dragon, the only one with the strongest defense, tried to break through the encirclement. Although he managed to block the attack, his speed was also slowed down. Rumble. The heaven-burying devil emperor's aura erupted. His youthful face was twisted with madness, and it was as if he had seized the opportunity to take revenge from the abyss of despair. You can't use such a ferocious attack a second time, can you? Although I don't know what secrets you have, it's time for you to die. Lin Shun. Boom, boom, boom. The demon god king's remnant devil tail swept toward him, and it was as if 1,000 caddies had been destroyed. The void started to tremble again. This attack contained the heaven-burying devil emperor's full strength and murderous intent. He was determined to kill Lin Shun in one blow. Yes, this is really a close call. Lin Shun's eyes were filled with the madness of a desperate counterattack. Fortunately, I predicted your prediction and the prediction after your prediction. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Lin Shun's 158 saint acupoints suddenly erupted. Lin Shun's saint body started to burn with the orange brilliance of life. consumed 900 million top talent points to select an enemy target. Host has activated the extreme dual innate skill, absolute life and death. Host's life force is burning at an accelerated rate. Host can only be removed after killing the enemy. The large amount of saint energy that Lin Shun had consumed earlier was instantly replenished. One should know that the amount of saint energy that his saint acupuncture points could store was the highest in the sacred boundary. Even if he consumed all the gold saint origin coins in the sacred boundary, it might not be enough to replenish Lin Chen's saint energy. This was because his saint energy had far exceeded the theoretical range. It was comparable to the level of divine power. At this moment, Lin Shun had used the absolute life and death innate skill to replenish the saint energy that he had consumed. He even seemed to be charging toward a new realm. A total of 158 hexagonal starlights, including the saint acupuncture points of the main body, Great One saint acupuncture points, and the virtual saint acupuncture points brought by the God Slayer and God-defying innate skills, were all used up. In an instant, a lantern-like 9-colored starlight floated above Lin Chen's palm. The destructive aura that overflowed from it caused everyone's expression to change again. Lin Shun held the lantern-like 9-colored starlight in his palm and swung it toward the heaven-burying Devil Emperor. Annihilation, starburst. Buzz! The lantern-like starlight instantly split into 5. 5 9-colored light clusters spun like roulette wheels as they shot out from Lin Chen's palm. With a speed that was 1,000 times faster than the speed of light, they instantly collided with the Demon God King's remnant tail. The heaven-burying Devil Emperor's heart skipped a beat. He felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He still has a backup plan? The 6 Demon Emperors were horrified. They could not care less about the battle around them, and quickly retreated. The female Empress sneered. "You want to leave? It's not that easy." The demon's saber flashed, and a blood-red moon fell silent in the galaxy. Chi! With the Calamity Demon Emperor in the lead, the demon body's Calamity Storm was cut into many pieces, and demon blood splattered everywhere. Other than the Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor, the other 4 Demon Emperors were hit by different attacks. However, they were eager to avoid Lin Chen's attack range and did not care too much about it. Buzz! Rumble! The void in the firmament star field shook again, and a magnificent 9-colored sea of stars was swept up. The saint energy that overflowed from the annihilation starburst turned into a sea of stars that swept toward the border of the galaxy. With the God Slayer and God-defying innate skills, the annihilation, starburst had been strengthened to the limit. In the past, none of the annihilation starburst that Lin Shun had used could compare to 1/10,000th of the power of this one. The aftermath of the starburst that wreaked havoc in the universe even spread to other galaxies. Even the human race's sacred boundary felt the energy fluctuation this time. The attack this time was infinitely close to the divine elephant charge from before. The Demon God King's devil tail burst into pieces and disappeared in the magnificent starlight of the starburst. No matter how the heaven-burying Demon Emperor used his Emperor Blood clone, it was destroyed every time he used it until it could not be used again. "I can't believe I lost to a human brat." Before he disappeared in the magnificent sea of stars, a trace of self-mockery appeared on the heaven-burying Demon Emperor's ferocious face. Looking at the top of the gods for thousands of years, right and wrong, success and failure vanish in a flash. Ha! With this Lin Shun, there are no gods in this world. A demon emperor of a generation, who is equivalent to a creator god of the human race, died and disappeared in the sea of stars. Chapter 1846. Lin Shun did not have the time to look at anything else, as he was also affected by the star sea. The power of the annihilation star explosion was unprecedented, and even he was not completely out of danger. The energy of the immortal godhead flowed through Lin Chen's body as he withdrew from the sea of stars. He used his pure energy to retreat. I almost played myself to death. This Annihilation Star explosion is really a desperate move. With all his saint acupoints emptied, Lin Shun fell into a state of weakness that he had never felt before. System notification. The God-defying talent has ended, and the God-defying talent has been removed. The red glow gradually disappeared around Lin Chen's body. The God-defying talent had been removed, and the time limit had just ended. Right now, the only thing Lin Shun had left to contend against the Deity Realm expert was the God Slayer talent. However, Lin Shun had killed the most dangerous and terrifying enemy, the Sky-Burying Demon Emperor. The threat of the Sky-Burying Demon Emperor was even more dangerous than the 6 great demon emperors. Fortunately, this battle ended with Lin Chen's narrow victory. He had used the Holy Elephant, Godhead, and the Annihilation Star explosion, 2 trump cards, and had paid a heavy price. The Annihilation Star explosion was a skill that required all of his saint power to be used. The Godslayer talent could only increase the strength of the main body and not the doppelgangers. Lin Shun could only reach the peak if he used it himself. The activation of the Divine Elephant Godhead required a huge amount of Heaven's Path points and a large amount of chi and blood of the host. Now, Lin Shun was in a state where his saint power and chi and blood were completely depleted. He was extremely weak and only had the minimum combat power of a God State expert. Chi, rip! A blade light flashed in the void and rushed toward Lin Shun at lightning speed. It was the Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor. He had braved the danger of being severely injured and withstood the aftermath of the Annihilation Star explosion to get close to Lin Shun. All the experts were shocked. No one had expected this to happen. Those guys from the demon race are all mad dogs. Lin Shen's primordial spirit transformed into 8 primordial spirit burning dragons. The burning dragons roared, and the instantaneous dragon roar came crashing down like a tornado, shaking the galaxy. The Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch didn't slow down at all. His silver-white demonic wings flapped, and saber rays flashed in the air, cutting off Lin Chen's Yuan Shun attack. Ignoring Lin Chen's attacks, the Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor continued to advance. Its demonic eyes flashed with ruthless killing intent. This kid is too dangerous. The opportunity that buried heaven risked his life to create is one of a kind. We can lose this battle, but that kid must die. They could lose the war, but Lin Shun had to die. Even if he lost the battle, as a devil emperor, he could still retreat unscathed. But if Lin Shun didn't die, and he was given time to recover, the next time the human race attacked the demon race would be, at that time, just to deal with a single Lin Shun, the demon race would have to face 6 great demon emperors. Not to mention that the human race had joined forces with the dragon race. The opportunity now was one of a kind. The Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch was like the head of a ferocious crocodile. Murderous intent filled his entire body, and his murderous aura soared to the sky. He was like a gambler who had been pushed to the brink of death and had finally seen his last ray of hope. The Water Empress saw this and flapped her purple and black wings to stop the Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch. However, the Water Empress was in the south while the Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch was in the north. In order to avoid the aftermath of the annihilation, starburst, the Water Empress also distanced herself from the Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch. Coupled with the Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch's full speed, the Water Empress couldn't catch up with him. She could only watch as he attacked Lin Shun, who was in his weakest state. This guy is determined to kill me. Even my primordial spirit can't stop him. There's no other way. The Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch was a veteran demon monarch. Although Lin Chen's primordial spirit had entered a new realm and could fight against an ordinary true god, he lacked a powerful primordial spirit cultivation technique. Compared to the Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch, it was difficult to stop him completely. Lin Shun thought, and the God of War set flashed slightly. He looked in the direction of the Water Empress. At this point, he could only use the God of War set. However, once he used it, the recharge might be reduced. The 6 pieces of the God of War set would not be enough to complete the set. Lin Chen's body emitted the golden light of the god of war. Just as Lin Chen's pure strength was about to increase, boom! Suddenly, a huge hole appeared in the vacuum of nothingness. It was as if he had broken through the boundary of dimensions and torn through countless space-time distances to arrive here. Lin Chen's heart trembled. There seemed to be a consciousness in his body that was guiding him. Lin Chen could not help but exclaim, "This, could it be the ancient gods?" Above Lin Chen, a shining silver pagoda appeared in the sky. "No one can touch him." The fairy's cold voice reverberated throughout the extraterritorial battlefield, declaring her sovereignty. Hearing this voice, Lin Chen's body trembled and his mouth opened slightly. A majestic divine pagoda, whose end could not be seen, descended from the sky and stopped in front of Lin Chen. Bang! 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 All of the Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch's attacks were blocked by the silver divine pagoda. The pagoda shook violently. The Heaven Fiend Demon Monarch's strongest attack did not leave a mark on it. The remaining demon emperors and mystical dragons were horrified when they saw the divine pagoda that seemed to reach the heavens. This item is divine. We can't see the sky, but we can see the pagoda. It can break through the 9 heavens and exist forever. It can't be wrong. It's a divine artifact. It's a real divine artifact. It's a divine artifact. It has the power of a god and the heavenly might of a god. While the mystical dragons were exclaiming, the demon monarch's eyes narrowed. They felt an extraordinary sense of oppression. The pagoda was glowing. Just by looking at it, the demon monarchs felt a piercing pain all over their bodies. A divine artifact that was born to suppress the demon clan. This item was definitely the nemesis of the demon clan. In the history of the demon clan, there is only one time when such a divine artifact was born. It was the most powerful divine artifact that suppressed the demon clan's devil dens. It was a divine artifact that the demon clan did not want to look back, but was extremely fearful of. Lin Chen was also surprised. He recognized this item. Firmament Pagoda. The Firmament Pagoda, which was in charge of the 9 prefectures, did not have any divinity. If not for the system, Lin Chen would not have been able to find out its background. But now its divinity was dazzling. It was as if a real god was here. I see. The Firmament Pagoda was not activated previously. Otherwise, the demon dens suppressed by the pagoda would not be able to survive or escape. The ancient god had once told Lin Chen that if he encountered a strong enemy of the demon clan, the mark left by the ancient god would activate the Firmament Pagoda's divinity and help Lin Chen. But the current situation seemed to be different from what the ancient god had said. That attack just now was controlled by someone and perfectly protected him. At the top of the pagoda, white smoke danced gracefully like a celestial flower blooming in the void. It was cold and beautiful. Lin Chen's mouth twitched. Sister Ruoyan, what are you doing here? Standing at the top of the pagoda, the white-robed celestial immortal glanced at him and smiled like a flower. Of course I'm here to check on you. I'm here to see what kind of woman could make Brother Lin Chen risk everything to participate in such a war between the demon clans. I don't want you to be seduced by another woman and not come back. Lin Chen, Empress. Chapter 1847. Bairuoyan did not even look at the Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor. Instead, she looked at the Empress in the distance. The Empress's gaze pierced through the void, and her gem-like eyes reflected the figure of the Heaven Immortal in white. The 2 women each had their own merits. One had an extraordinary temperament and was the most powerful Heaven Immortal. The other was extremely enchanting and beautiful. Bairuoyan was slightly moved. She was stunned by the Empress's temperament and appearance. She smiled. Brother Lin Chen's taste is really... Lin Chen hurriedly said, Sister Oyan, now is not the time to be impressed. Rumble. The saber light was like a dragon as the Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor flapped his wings and slashed toward her. He had already sensed that the woman in front of him was not an immortal yet. She was only a quasi-god. She was purely relying on a divine artifact. Byroyan waved her slender hand, and the firmament tower crushed all the demonic chi as if it was her arm. In this clash, they were actually evenly matched. The heaven fiend demon emperor was dumbfounded. A quasi-god could control a divine artifact with such precision and be on par with a veteran demon emperor like him? Lin Shun was stunned. This, Sister Royan, how did you do it? A battle between immortals was definitely not an ordinary battle. Even if Byroyan's cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds, her awareness should not have been able to keep up. She could not possibly have a godslayer as well, right? Byroyan smiled brightly. I have already communicated with the other 8 holy flames and obtained part of the battle memories from the immortal realm's messengers. With the power of the holy flames, I can use the firmament tower. This time, it's my turn to protect you. Byroyan waved her hand, and the firmament tower spun rapidly, shooting out pure white flames mixed with silver light that cut through the void and burned it. The sea of fire swept across the sky and enveloped the heaven fiend demon emperor. No matter how fast he was, Byroyan's firmament tower's attacks seemed to have locked onto him and chased after him. Now was the best time to destroy them. The 5 divine dragons understood what he meant. They moved their divine dragon bodies and surrounded the remaining 5 demon emperors. The battle had changed. The 4 supreme elders were dead. The sky-burying demon emperor was dead. Right now, the most important enemy was the final 6 great demon emperors. As long as they were annihilated, only the human race, the demon race led by the empress, and the dragon race were left in this war. At that time, with Lin Shun as the leader of the human clan and the dragon clan, they would be able to fight against the demon clan and become the final winner. Lin Shun stared at the firmament pagoda covetously and exclaimed in his heart, "Firmament pagoda, if only it could be broken down." The set essence that the divine artifact has broken down into is more than enough. The system was unable to break down anything that had a master or divinity. The relationship between Byroyan and Firmament Tower was similar to that of an ally. She could use it, but she could not hand it over to Lin Shun. The female monarch glanced at Byroyan's battle circle and felt an inexplicable sense of irritation in her heart. Wielding her demonic blade, she charged toward the 5 demon emperors. The aura of the 5 devil emperors was slightly weaker, but they were not existences that could be easily intimidated. Even if they had lost the heaven-burying devil emperor, their confidence had not changed by much. The divine dragon breathed, and the demon emperor wreaked havoc. The largest battle circle was in a mess. However, the expected crushing momentum did not appear. The resistance of the 5 devil emperors was very tenacious. It was not that the divine dragons had become weaker, but that the 5 divine dragons were wary of the female monarch. That's right, the female monarch was not teaming up with the divine dragons, and the same went for the 5 divine dragons. The female monarch and the divine dragons were still on opposing sides. Under such circumstances, both sides could not unite. If both sides joined forces, the 5 devil emperors would be at a disadvantage. However, both sides entered the battle with caution and would definitely hold back. Both sides could only fight on their own and could not achieve the benefits of teaming up. On the other hand, due to the death of the heaven-burying devil emperor, the last bit of estrangement between the demon emperors had disappeared. This was a battle of life and death, honor and disgrace. The differences and grudges between the devil emperors were no longer important. If they did not completely unite, they would most likely perish here. With the 5 divine dragons teaming up, the devil emperors were not afraid. However, the attacks of the demon empress were extremely terrifying. She was the fatal factor that threatened the devil emperors. The battle had reached its climax. The 3 sides were at each other's throats. Although the divine dragons and the female monarch were attacking the same enemy, they were fighting on their own and were wary of each other. It was as if 3 galaxies were colliding and killing each other. The power spread to the surrounding starfields, including the borders of the divine river galaxy outside of the firmament star field. The stars collapsed, The space-time was distorted, and the battle between the divine dragons and the devil emperors was getting more and more intense. At this moment, the female monarch saw by Royan and Lin Chen exchanging glances after meeting each other. She was distraught and did not know why. Although her saber moves were sharp, she had lost a lot of precision and judgment. In fact, her mind was a little lax. Lin Chen looked at Bai Royan, who was fighting with a heaven fiend demon emperor. Her moves were sharp, precise, and elegant. The heaven fiend demon emperor attacked fiercely and even feinted to go around Bai Royan a few times, but he was blocked every time. The firmament tower was perfect for both offense and defense. The heaven fiend demon emperor had no chance to break through. Lin Chen gasped in amazement. So strong. When can you give me the eternal sacred flame? Sure enough, the items from the God realm are unpredictable. I'll leave this place too. Although there were many attribute light balls and attribute treasure chests in the extraterritorial battlefield, Lin Chen could not collect them in his current state. He would be dragged into the battle at any moment. Lin Chen released the Dragon King and was about to retreat to prepare for the next battle. Suddenly, a faint light appeared in the void and shone from outside the extraterritorial battlefield. Lin Chen looked at the fiery red light and stood on the Dragon King's head. He frowned and muttered to himself, "What kind of light is that?" The distance between the starfields was very long. Even if one traveled at the speed of light, it would take months, years, or even tens of thousands of years to reach here. Lin Chen did not plan to pay attention to it first, but suddenly, the fiery red light became brighter and brighter. It was like an aurora that traveled through the dimensions of the void and came straight at him. There was more than one. Beside the fiery red light, there was a blue light. 2, no, 3, 4. 4 auroras appeared from the horizon and became brighter and brighter. The light was so dazzling that it even lit up the entire starfield. What's going on? Lin Chen focused his eyes and looked, discovering an extremely strange fact. None of the higher-ups of the dragon race, demon race, and demon race saw these 4 auroras. The auroras were so strong that even the demon emperors and divine dragons did not notice it. The empress was no exception. Perhaps the empress, who was fully alert, could notice it, but she was in a subtle trance now. After pausing for a breath, Lin Chen felt as if he was struck by lightning. No, only I can see these auroras. The auroras that only Lin Chen could see were the attribute light balls. The 4 auroras were pointing in one direction. It was the Empress. The 4 auroras came at lightning speed and approached the Empress, who was in the middle of the battle. Thinking of an extremely terrifying possibility, Lin Chen did not even have time to think before his body moved first. Lin Chen subconsciously moved with his mind and moved as fast as he could. All the dragon veins condensed by his Dragon King exploded instantly. A pale green light flashed through the still space and time and swept toward the Empress. Taizhou Flash, the bloodline ability of the ancient Taizhou dragon. Almost at the same time that Lin Chen activated Taizhou Flash, a long howl that tore through the universe burst out in the sky. Clang! It was the howl of sword. The power of a sword unsheathed. This kind of power was unprecedented in history. The sword intent broke through the universe, and one sword alone broke 3,000 realms. Its sharpness made the divine dragons tremble in fear. A sword howl broke through the sky and headed straight for the demon empress. Chapter 1848. Boom, 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 whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The dimension was torn apart by an unstoppable aura. The sword light sliced through everything, and it was mixed with boundless sword intent. It was like a blazing white beam of light shooting over. The sword intent could break through the universe, and one sword could break 3,000 worlds. The sudden sword strike broke all the patterns and exceeded everyone's expectations. The moment the Empress was in a daze, she regained her senses when the strong murderous intent approached her. A strong sense of danger shrouded the Empress. She had never felt such a strong sense of danger since she became the Empress. The Empress suddenly turned around. Whoosh! A ray of pale green light flashed, and the young man's back appeared in her eyes again. The young man's back and the memory fragments overlapped. The Empress was in a daze, and her cold eyes wavered. The moment Lin Chun flashed behind the Empress, divine light appeared, and the golden light of the god of war was released. Lin Chun couldn't care less anymore. He swung his fist and used cosmic flash. His next thought was, system, god of war set. Boom! Splat! Suddenly, the blazing white light penetrated Lin Chen's fist. The light of the 6 pieces of the god of war didn't even have time to shine before it quickly faded. The sword light shattered Lin Chen's pure power and invaded his body. What? Lin Chen's pupil shrank. It was too fast. This sword was ridiculously fast. It was faster than Lin Chun could imagine. The owner of this sword was equivalent to the sky-burying Devil Emperor at his peak. No, he might even be stronger than the sky-burying Devil Emperor. Whoosh! Bang! 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 Lin Chen's body exploded with blood, and he vomited blood on the spot. He was instantly covered in blood, and his whole body was bleeding. Blood sprayed everywhere. Ah! Lin Chun let out an unprecedented scream. The terrifying sword intent was like an evil dragon. When it penetrated Lin Chen's divine body, it turned his body upside down and messed up crazily. All the pain that Lin Chun had experienced in his life was not even 1/10,000th of this. It was as if countless wild beasts were tearing at his internal organs, crushing his bones, and tearing at his flesh. Pieces of his saint body's flesh and blood seemed to be torn apart. His entire body seemed to be torn apart. It was as if every inch of his flesh was being torn apart, and his bones were being crushed again and again. Note, sensing that the host is in mortal danger, the system automatically activated the immortal divinity fragment to repair the host's body, consuming heavenly Tao points. Lin Chun. The Empress suddenly cried out his name. His blood splattered onto the Empress's jade-like cheeks as he fell from the sky. The Empress threw caution to the wind and abandoned the battle. She rushed toward Lin Chun and grabbed his hand. When she held him in her arms, the Empress was shocked to find that the young man was convulsing crazily and spitting out blood continuously. Lin Chun was like a cracked porcelain, ready to shatter at any moment. All the battles stopped in an instant. This scene had happened too suddenly. No one had expected this. That was a sword that could kill a god. Without a doubt, if an ordinary true god or a newly ascended demon emperor would be hit by that sword, they would be severely injured even if they did not die. Not to mention the already weak Lin Chun. It was a pity that the Wuji old man was not present. Otherwise, the outcome of this sword might have been different. What a freak. He's actually not dead after taking on my sword intent. The situation has changed. Haha, it's a pity that the final victor will be us. The demon tribe, and dragon tribe are all here. Voices that were a little tired, but incomparably clear reverberated throughout the world like the voice of creation. They were mixed with supreme divine might. In the void, 4 figures appeared. A man in a green robe appeared with a sword in his hand. He stepped on a river of sword aura, and his divine might was as vast as the sea. Even in the sword domain of the sacred boundary, one could feel a peerless sword intent that could dominate the world. A young man in a black robe and carrying a sword with a fair face radiated with sword intent. His sword aura was like a coiling dragon cutting through the void. He crossed his arms in front of his chest, and his eyes were full of domineering arrogance. That was the majesty of a god. A middle-aged man in a red robe, with fiery red eyebrows and long hair that burned like flames, looked around. He had a mocking smile on his face, as if he had already seen through everything. The beautiful woman in a blue robe was elegant and luxurious. Her temperament was awe-inspiring and noble. She held a water prison-like barrier in her palm. Her beautiful eyes were filled with arrogance, as if nothing could enter her eyes. The divine dragons and demon emperors were shocked. Human tribe, gods. Sword god, edgeless sword. Fire god Huangfu Xian, water god Zhuge Taichu. It was not a clone of a true god, but a genuine true god of the human race. What was more terrifying was that royal god dragon and the 3 veteran demon emperors felt their scalps go numb. They seemed to have broken through to a new realm. Royal god dragon was dumbfounded. He said in shock, "W, what's going on?" Water god Zhuge Taichu chuckled and covered his mouth. What's going on? It's easy to understand. We humans are the final winners. The demon emperors felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Impossible. The bloodthirsty demon emperor's 3 heads roared angrily. We've already explored the god Thearcha's ruins countless times. There shouldn't be any fortuitous opportunities. We've just been released from the demonic Chi whirlpool in the distant star system. Aren't you all fighting foolishly in the ruins now? The 5 divine dragons also stared at the gods without blinking. They had gone to the approximate location of the god Thearcha's ruins and watched the battle for a while. If it was a true god-level deathmatch, it shouldn't have ended so quickly. Ha ha! Edgeless saber god laughed heartily. You want to play tricks with us humans? Demons, oh demons, you're not even 1 level behind. Sword god Jian Jueshing sneered. Indeed, there's no divine fate in the god Thearcha's ruins. You all just want to provoke a civil war among the gods. However, humans are the ones who understand human things the most, not demons. The fire god Huangfu Xian smiled calmly and said with ease, "The god emperor's remains came from the upper realm. It's a divine object that appeared in a lower dimension. Although its remaining treasures are scattered and are not of much use to a true god, the god emperor's remains have been contaminated with the god source items of the god realm. The god Thearcha's ruins are the greatest divine fate for us. After the gods break the god Thearcha's ruins and refine them, it's time for us to reach new heights. Your plan has indeed succeeded in provoking a civil war among the gods, but it's all within our expectations. Because in a civil war among the gods, the winner gets everything." Huangfu Xian spoke cheerfully and wittily, revealing a kind of absolute confidence that he was in control of the entire situation. We gods have long predicted that as long as we have a civil war, the demon race will definitely make a move. You demons will also follow the example of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Unfortunately, we've already seen through it. Everything is just a plot against us. The gods' merciless judgment made the divine dragons and demon emperors feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. They had actually been schemed against to such an extent, all of their plans had been countered by someone else. The demon race had been preparing for many years and thought that they had seen through the situation. The demons had triggered the battle for the god Thearcha's ruins and secretly protected the demon race. Together with the 4 elders, they thought highly of themselves and thought that they were in control of the situation. The dragon race thought that they had made the right choice to fight against the enemy together and gamble on protecting the future of the dragon race. All the forces thought that they were the victors, but no one was. The gods of the human race were the victors. They had actually seen through everything. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Behind the oriole, there was the hunter. The gods were the initiators of all this. They were the real winners, the hunters. Chapter 1849. The gods only had a rough idea of the current situation. Only then did Royal Divine Dragon come back to his senses. No wonder he felt that something was wrong. In the god emperor's ruins, the human gods fought each other before they found the opportunity. The scene of the martial god being surrounded was especially fresh in the minds of the divine dragons. At that time, the gods were eager to determine victory and defeat and life and death. It turned out that they already knew that the god emperor's ruins were the main event. The empress did not hear the god's reply at all. Hugging the young man covered in blood, her primordial spirit felt like it was about to explode as fragments of memories flooded into her mind. The mortal world, the burial mountain, the clear sky Sage King's tomb, the mysterious region. The source of the memories broke through the restrictions of the ancestors' wills and pieced together the memories regardless of the influence of the ancestors' wills. It's you. You've protected me again. The Empress' purple and black eyes were filled with hope as she reminisced. Tears streamed down her cheeks and dripped on Lin Chen's bloody forehead. Her trembling fingers caressed the side of his face. Her gaze became even more intense. Other than heartache, there was even more killing intent. Lin Chen's injuries were constantly being healed by the immortal divine spark fragments, but they were also being devoured by the sword intent. If not for the power of the immortal divine spark, Lin Chen might have been cut into pieces long ago. The sword god's swordsmanship pierced through Lin Chen, and the sword intent was still destroying Lin Chen's divine body. This was the terror of the strongest sword intent in the world. The sword intent was still destroying the opponent even after the sword technique ended. Lin Chen's Dragon King merged with his body and continued to use the Yin-Yang Divine Dragon bloodline to heal his body together with the immortal divine spark fragments. Damn it, this bunch of old foxes that actually predicted this. Lin Chen spat out a mouthful of blood. Enduring the immense pain, he grabbed the Empress's jade-like hand. Trembling, he said, "Yao Air, run. You and Sister Ruoyan, run first. Don't worry about me. Rumble." The demonic sword's killing intent bloomed, and the remaining light in the world was devoured. Looking at Lin Chen's miserable state and his reply, the Empress did not reply. Instead, her killing intent skyrocketed. Had he gone berserk? A demonic cultivator had gone berserk for the human race. How magical. This kid is a big threat. Let's get rid of him first. Edgeless sneered as he raised his hand and clawed. Chi. Time and space were sliced apart. The blade intent rushed forward at unprecedented speed, enveloping the Empress and attacking Lin Chen. Little brother Lin Chen, by Ruoyan's heart, was burning with anxiety. She activated the firmament pagoda and rushed toward the female Empress. The blood moon blade flashed. Clang! Bang! 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 The female monarch raised her saber and blocked the sword deity's saber intent. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. The 5 divine dragons immediately flew to the Empress's side. The dragon god had to protect Lin Chen, whether it was for the sake of reward or the future of the human race and the dragon race. Let's retreat now. The demon emperors reacted extremely quickly and immediately chose to withdraw from the battle. They tore through space and retreated. Huangfu Xian, the god of fire, said cheerfully, "Well, during the time we were talking, my trump card is almost ready." When the fire god announced the human race's trump card, he was also preparing his trump card. This was because their goal was to catch all of them in one fell swoop at this moment. He and Zhuge Taichu looked at each other. Their hands formed a seal, and a surge of water elemental and fire elemental divine power condensed into 2 rays of divine light that shot into the sky. Water and fire celestial boundary. Rumble. The water god's divine power transformed into a dragon, while the fire god's divine power transformed into a vermilion bird soaring into the sky. The 2 intertwined and did not repel each other at all. Instead, they merged perfectly. The divine power was red and blue respectively. Together, they encompassed 1,000 realms and covered 9 heavens and 10 lands. The dual divine power boundary covered the heavens and even the entire firmament star field. Clang! The sound of metal colliding reverberated. The heaven fiend demon emperor, who was the fastest, had failed to break out. The heaven fiend demon emperor was shocked. What a powerful divine power boundary. It was extremely difficult to break this boundary. Even the sky-burying demon emperor, who had the demon god king's remains at his peak, would have to struggle. Are these humans serious? Do they want to kill us here? Damn it. We, the demon emperors of our generation, have been underestimated. The 6 demon emperors glared at each other, their killing intent soaring to the sky. Royal God Dragon, who was the leader of the divine dragons, shouted coldly, "Sword God, Saber God, you want to fight us in your current state? You're looking down on us." That's right, Sword God, Saber God, Water God, and Fire God appear to be in a mighty and indestructible state. But in reality, they were like arrows at the end of their flight. They had indeed reached a new level, but the price they had paid was very obvious. After all, the human gods had gone through the War of the Gods. They were the last four gods to survive. The yin-yang gods, the five elements gods, and the others had all fallen. Jian Juesheng crossed his arms in front of his chest. His expression was full of arrogance and confidence. He said calmly, "Do you think we're unprepared? Although we're not in our best condition, the human gods have a promise of the gods. Otherwise, why would we build the sacred boundary and give the human race peace? It's all for this moment." The five divine dragons' eyes widened. Could it be the promise of the gods? The losers have to obey everything the winners have. At this moment, in the various domains of the sacred boundary, the golden god, thunder god, yin-yang gods, and the other true gods' clones looked up at the sky. Have they returned? I didn't expect them to be the final winners. Given the signal, we're done. The clones of the gods shot out a ray of divine power that penetrated the demon tribe and the demon-human tribe army. In the firmament star field, the four gods spread their arms and shouted coldly, "Humans, listen up. We, the human gods, are the creators of the sacred boundary. We created the sacred boundary to protect the human race for eternity." The deep and powerful voice released endless divine power and reverberated in every inch of the sacred boundary. Countless humans stared at the sky with their mouths agape as they listened to the voice. The majestic voice spread across the boundless universe. Not only the sacred boundary, but even the countless mortal realms far away could hear it. Mortals, who gave you peace? Who let your lives continue? It's the gods. It's the creators. It's the gods who gave you the sacred boundary. You've enjoyed the gods' grace and received their blessings. Now is the time for the human race to be destroyed. It's time for you to serve the gods. In the mystic domain, everyone was stunned when they heard the voice. Only one person's expression changed. Scarlet Fairy. Because of her true identity, she was one of the few people who knew part of the truth. The gods had sealed the sacred boundary and the human race's destiny. What were they trying to do? Mortals, sacrifice your lives and serve the gods. Rumble. The entire sacred boundary began to tremble violently. The sacred boundary changed dramatically. Chapter 1850. The earth began to wither, and countless amounts of spirit energy lost their luster. Countless saints and mortals began to emit blood-colored smoke from their bodies. One of the War Emperor realm mortals was stunned. What is this? Before he could finish speaking, the blood-colored smoke surged out of his body like boiling water. His entire body turned into a pile of white bones with a whoosh. He even turned into ashes. With a blow, he turned into ashes. The saints were all terrified. Despair, fear, madness, and horror filled the 35 regions of the sacred boundary. The mortals could not hold on for more than a breath, and the saints were all turned into ashes in 3 breaths. No, I don't want to die. Why, it wasn't easy for me to cultivate my cultivation. Could it be that, creators, this is not fair? Where did the mercy of the gods go? When the sacred boundary was first established, we diligently built temples to worship the gods. Could it be that we will end up like this? Panic, despair, and madness filled every inch of the sacred boundary. The sacred boundary seemed to be repelling all living beings. No one would have thought that the cause of their death was neither the demons nor the demon humans, but the gods of the human race. The reinforcements of the dragon race could only watch this scene with their mouths agape, but they were powerless to stop it. The demon humans were bewildered and even stopped attacking. Only the demons were still invading the sacred boundary like crazy. It was not just the sacred boundary itself. There were also the humans who escaped from the sacred boundary and went to the starry mortal world to avoid the disaster. They all turned into clouds of pure energy that were like blood smoke, sweeping across the sky and shuttling through the void. Only the humans who were born and raised in the mortal world were spared. All the humans who had stayed in the sacred boundary began to turn into blood light that shuttled through the universe and flew in one direction. In the sky above the extraterritorial battlefield, four human true gods opened their arms and refined the rolling blood light that was shuttling over. That was the brilliance that belonged to life. The injuries of the gods began to improve slightly. The dazzling blood light increased in number and speed. How many humans were there in the sacred boundary? One had to know that every mortal genius was 1 in 10,000. Just the genius ranking set up by the mortals of the sacred boundary had 100,000 names. Every genius on the prodigy ranking had to be a top genius chosen from tens of thousands of mortal geniuses. In order to produce a genius on the prodigy ranking, they had to choose from hundreds of millions of mortals. And the number of geniuses on the genius ranking had reached 100,000. Furthermore, the rankings on the genius rankings changed all year round. From this, it could be seen how large the population of the sacred boundary was. Just the number of mortals in a region alone exceeded a quadrillion. The 35 domains added together was an astronomical figure that couldn't be counted. What a huge number and human civilization. They had built such a huge civilization, but now it was being destroyed by the gods themselves. Even though many saints had retreated after the Wuji old man had publicized the news of the war, how could ordinary heavenly dipper martialists, Yuan venerates, or war emperors escape the vast sacred boundary? The number of mortals still hadn't decreased by much. In addition, even if they really escaped, the mortals who had lived in the sacred boundary would still die if they escaped to the sacred boundary. The humans of the sacred boundary had become the healing agent of the gods and become the bait of the gods. Sword gods, Jian Jueshing revealed an intoxicated smile. After keeping you in captivity for so long, this is your true purpose. The expressions of the people on the Saint Talent ranking changed drastically. It turned out that the sacred boundary had been a complete conspiracy from beginning to end. They were just toys of the gods. The humans of the sacred boundary clearly understood the cruelty of the gods. Their faith in the gods had completely collapsed. But so what? The destruction of the sacred boundary was a foregone conclusion. Lin Shen clearly witnessed this crazy moment. Even though his body and mind were torn apart, his worry for the mystic realm doubled. This group of damned beasts, what kind of gods are they? Lin Shen's eyes flashed with crazy, killing intent. Water god Zhuge Taichu's beautiful eyes turned and looked down at Lin Shen from above. As he absorbed the countless rays of blood to heal himself, he sneered in disdain. Insignificant mortals will never understand the greatness of the gods. Lin Shan clutched his bleeding chest and forced himself to stand up. His eyes were about to burst open. What kind of greatness is this? You keep people in captivity like beasts and gain fame by deceiving the world. You dare to talk about the path of gods? Ha ha! Zhuge Taichu laughed so hard that his body trembled. She covered her mouth and laughed. Mortal, let me ask you. Is there anything in the mortal world that isn't scam? The composition of the world is one scam after another. The heavens beyond the heavens, the gods beyond the mortals. We have given mortals honor. We have given them beliefs and made them fight for their beliefs. We have given them thoughts and made them live for their thoughts. We have given them history and made them learn from it. If not for this battle, they would have always enjoyed everything that we have given them. How could they deceive the world and gain fame? Everything is just inevitable. Lin Shen looked straight at Zhuge Taichu and roared out his thoughts. No, the world shouldn't be like this. Zhuge Taichu's smile gradually disappeared as she said with interest. Then what are you going to do? I will change it with this broken body of yours that's about to die. At the same time, in the mystic realm, just as the world was about to be destroyed, All the servants were emitting blood and smoke. At the moment when their vitality was about to disappear, a crimson figure flashed in the sky. It was Fairy Scarlet. Her crimson dress fluttered like smoke. Her slender fingers were agile and graceful as she formed a mysterious and obscure hand seal. A peach-red mark appeared between her brows and shone brightly. Behind the fairy, endless immortal light and peach branches appeared. The peach blossoms were beautiful beyond compare. An extremely dazzling peach-red light bloomed between heaven and earth. It was magnificent and scattered countless rays of light, landing on everyone in the mystic realm. The humans bathed in the peach-red light seemed to have some kind of energy entering their bodies. The blood-red smoke began to dissipate. Only the experts who had opened the 100th holy cave, the Eye of the Holy King, could see the truth of this scene. Fairy Scarlet did not instill any kind of energy into the people. Instead, she transferred a part of the providence condensed by the auspicious beasts to them. The reason why the gods could control all living beings in the world was because they had not received enough providence from the sacred boundary. The gods deprived them of the providence that they should have, creating a situation where they were born in the sacred boundary, but were not people of the sacred boundary. Without enough providence, the humans were not qualified to face the rejection of the sacred boundary. The blood-red smoke dissipated, and the people in the mystic realm were spared. Their faces were filled with the expression of someone who had survived a disaster. They had completely escaped from the gates of hell. Fairy Scarlet continued to expand the range of providence that belonged to her. After the lingering fear, Jiang Taishu finally realized something and exclaimed, "Fairy Scarlet, you!" Fairy Scarlet stayed by Lin Chen's side, hiding her aura. This was tantamount to exposing her existence to the public. Fairy Scarlet said in a deep voice, "It doesn't matter." Her bright autumn eyes looked at the other side of the sky, blooming with incomparably firm trust and tenderness. "I believe in him. I trust him with everything, if he will. If he does, he will definitely liberate this era." Chapter 1851. The strange phenomenon caused by Fairy Crimson in the mystic realm had finally attracted the attention of the gods. In the extraterritorial battlefield, Sword God Wufeng was shocked, and undisguised greed appeared on his face. A spiritual plant of providence that surpasses supreme-grade spiritual plants? So what did she hide? Ha ha ha. After the battle, she will be ours. Rumble. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and an obscure aura swept up in the barrier, alarming the four gods and the demon emperors. Who was it? For black shadows flashed past the empress's position and took Lin Chun, who was beside her, away in an instant. Water god Juga, Taichu shouted coldly, "What are you? Die for me." She pointed at the sky, and thousands of water-type divine power surged into the sky. The divine power surged out like a water dragon, piercing through the galaxy and sweeping through the universe. The black shadows were crushed into nothingness. Huang Fuxian was shocked. They escaped? It even managed to pass through our barrier? Jian Juesheng, who was guarding the Empress, glanced in the direction where the black shadows disappeared and sneered. "I didn't expect the dark shadow race to be here. They really don't know their limits." The divine dragons were shocked. Dark shadow race. The ones who saved Lin Chun just now were the famous dark shadow race. Currently, the dark shadow race did not have a race equivalent to a true god. Even so, they still passed through the divine power barrier. They were really the best in the world in terms of spatial talent. I didn't expect Lin Chun to be related to the dark shadow race. Now is not the time to be amazed. The dark shadow race is saving Lin Chun. We should be the ones worrying about ourselves. The divine dragons were ready. The next battle would be even more difficult. Sword God Wufeng frowned and said, "Should we chase after them? This kid is a big threat." Jian Juesheng said, "No need. This kid has been hit by my absolute kill sword will. The sword will continue to destroy his life. Unless a god-level alchemist is present, he will definitely die. As for these guys, if one of us leaves, we won't be able to kill them." As soon as he said that, the expressions of all the experts became very serious. They were serious. The sword god, and the fire and water gods were planning to kill them here. In order to pursue Lin Shun, who was kidnapped by the Dark Shadow tribe, they had to let the devil emperors escape. If the mystical dragons returned to their base camp, even the four of them would have to expend a lot of effort. The injuries of the four deities were more than half healed in the blink of an eye. Using the massive amount of lives of the living beings to heal their injuries, the speed at which they healed their injuries was so quick that it made one's hair stand on end. Bai Ruoyan flashed and came to the Empress. "Oh, fire god Huangfu's expression. There's also a divine weapon." The four deities noticed Bai Ruoyan's abnormality, and their gazes became playful and greedy. Weapon. The humans of the Divine River Galaxy only had a handful of divine artifacts. The ones they had were all destroyed in the Great War of the Nine Races. None of the gods in the present world had a divine artifact. This might be the last one. Before Bai Ruoyan's, her eyes. The Empress's Empress. A trace of blood fell from her black and purple eyes. The Empress suppressed the influence of her ancestors' will. She could no longer suppress her killing intent. Her voice was bone-chilling. "How dare you injure him to this extent?" Clang! A blade as black as the abyss appeared in the Empress's left hand. She clenched her fist. Rumble! The black blade was like a bottomless abyss, releasing a pressure that could destroy everything in the world. The Empress' black blade in her left hand was filled with demonic intent, and the blood blade in her right hand was devouring everything in the world. Demon Emperor Calamity exclaimed in shock. 2 demonic blades? Only then did Royal God Dragon come to his senses, so that's how it is. That's her true demonic form. The demon true body was the embodiment of the peak experts of the demon race. The demon true body was a realm that only revered elders or past demon race sages could use. It was an ultimate technique that only demon race experts who had reached the god realm could use. The demonic blade that the Empress used wasn't her demon true body, but the black blade. The Empress took a deep breath and thought to herself, "Past sages, perhaps Yao can't complete the great task of reviving the demon race." When she opened her eyes, Luo Yao's eyes shone with demonic light. "I will die for him here and bury the gods of the human race." With the 2 blades in her hands, demonic intent rose. The Empress' long hair danced in the wind as she waved her blades. Chi! The Blood Moon blade flashed, and the Blood Moon blade absorbed everything, swallowing all the light in the world, and slashed towards Sword God's sword extinction. The divine dragons were shocked. The Empress's combat power had increased by another level. Her talent was so great that it made people stop in their tracks. Even someone as strong as Sword God couldn't help but be slightly surprised. He, who was absorbing life energy, stomped his foot and destroyed the sword energy river under his feet. The sword energy river shot out a white dragon-like sword light into the sky. When Sword God held it, it condensed into a sheathless white sword. Sword extinction held the sword, and the supreme sword intent that cut through the void wrapped around the sword. The white sword slashed in the sky, and a white light condensed in the sky. The snowy light pierced out like a dragon, and in an instant, Sword God slashed and stabbed. The sword intent turned into an evil dragon and twisted the Empress's Blood Moon blade into pieces. Bang! 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 All the demon thearchs clearly saw that the Empress's heaven-slaying demon blade was blocked for the first time. The Empress suddenly waved her black blade and slashed violently. Boom! A black abyss split open in the void. Demonic light shot out from the black abyss, annihilating all life and withering heaven and earth. Sword extinction attacked, and dozens of sword strikes pierced through the black abyss at lightning speed. A black light burst out from the sky. The Empress's sword moves were swift and fierce, and she didn't intend to hold back. She closed in on Sword God and slashed with her two blades. With the sword in his hand, Jianzhu unleashed a boundless sword intent. With a flick of his sword, the tip of his sword clashed with the two demonic sabers of the female monarch. Although sword extinction was slightly at a disadvantage, he didn't panic. His sword moves were steady and tricky, and his sword intent soared into the sky. The divine dragons sucked in a breath of cold air. Jian Juesheng was actually able to fight against the Empress, who had unleashed her full strength while recovering from his injuries. Royal God Dragon transformed into a dazzling golden dragon and roared, "Let's go and help." The 5 divine dragons moved together and were about to help the Empress when a beam of divine fire shot out like a light pillar, burning the 9 heavens and 10 lands to stop the 5 divine dragons. The god of fire, Huangfu Xian, wielded extremely dazzling flames. He stepped on the flames and bathed in a sea of fire. He stood in front of the 5 divine dragons and smiled slightly. "Your opponent is me." Royal God Dragon sneered. "1 against 5? You think too highly of yourself. Do you think you are Lin Shen?" Clang! Royal God Dragon stretched out his claw, and the golden dragon claw covered the sky. Huangfu Xian flicked his finger, and the divine fire turned into sparks of fire that exploded instantly. The star core melted, and the sky collapsed. It actually burned Royal God Dragon's claw. Myriad flames, divine dragon's pupils contracted. As someone who also wielded fire elemental divine power, she could feel Huangfu Xian's new realm. If the divine flames of her myriad flames divine dragon could burn countless realms, then he, Huangfu Xian, could burn down entire galaxies. The two of them were on completely different levels. This is second-tier divine realm. Chapter 1852. Byron assisted the divine dragons. She waved her fingers, and the firmament pagoda spun rapidly, emitting a silvery white divine light. It crashed toward Huangfu Xian. Although the divine artifact is good, the controller is too weak. It's not worth mentioning. Huangfu Xian waved his sleeves and pushed the firmament pagoda back. Byron's face was pale. Even with the protection of the firmament pagoda's divine light, she was still pushed back thousands of feet. "It's okay. Brother Lin Shen has already left. As long as he's still alive, there's still hope." Byron gritted her teeth and activated the firmament pagoda again. Boom, boom, boom. Water-type divine power shrouded heaven and earth. Not only the 5 divine dragons, but even the 6 demon emperors were delayed. The demon emperors wanted to break through, but water god Zhuge Taichu didn't give them a chance. The fire and water gods blocked by Royan, the 5 divine dragons, and the 6 demon emperors. Finally, sword god Wufeng also started to move. Endless sharpness surged between his brows as he activated his supreme sword will. His divine power turned into a sword and slashed at the Empress back. The sword and saber gods surrounded the Empress. The divine dragons fell into a state of panic for the first time. Once the Empress died, the dragon race would be the next to die. Among all the experts present, only the Empress stood at the same height as the 4 gods of the human race. After the sword and saber gods broke through to a new level, they had the help of sword will and sword will. With the 2 strongest true gods of the human race working together, the Empress had no chance of winning at all. Once they were completely healed, the Empress would be defeated. The extraterrestrial battlefield welcomed the final battle that would decide the fate of all races. Most of the dragon race, demon race, and demon race were unaware. At this moment, within the sacred boundary, rumble, for shadows traveled through the void. When they finally appeared, a handsome young man carrying Lin Shen on his back appeared. It was the innate Dark Shadow King of the Dark Shadow race, Lin Can. It was a close call. I finally made it and saved Big Brother. Lin Can heaved a sigh of relief. From the tomb of the innate Dark Shadow King, he borrowed the power of the past Dark Shadow Kings to reconstruct his body. Furthermore, his Dragon Clan bloodline allowed Lin Shen's Yin Yang Divine Dragon blood to have a significant effect on him. allowing him to preserve his cultivation. Once he recovered, Lin Shan learned about the situation outside. He led the most elite experts of the Dark Shadow race and sneaked into the domain of the water and fire barrier at the last moment to rescue Lin Shan. Lin can turn to the three first elders behind him and asked, "Elders, are you all right?" The two black-robed old men who had transformed into human form covered the wounds on their arms and smiled bitterly. As expected of the sword god of the human race, just a tiny strand of sword intent almost cut us into pieces, another elder said. "Your Majesty, our problem is small. Let's take a look at Sir Lin Shan's first." Lin Shan looked at the severely injured Lin Shan, cold sweat flowing down his back. Not only that, even Lin Shan's doppelgangers had all disappeared. When the host didn't have a clear consciousness, they couldn't maintain the doppelgangers. Lin Shan said with difficulty, "You brat, why are you here? Didn't I tell you to recuperate?" Lin Shan said bluntly, "Big brother, how can I not come when you're in trouble? You don't think of me as a brother." Lin Shan grimaced in pain. "You talk too much. Quickly, take me to Wonder Realm." "All right, Wonder Realm." When the servant saw the injuries on Lin Shan's body, it was a ghastly sight. Fong Ling and Lang Fanyun stared at Lin Shan as if they were looking at an abyss. What a terrifying sword intent connecting to the heavens. This sword intent is 2 or 3 realms stronger than Fong Ling's. With the support of divine power, its destructive power can last for 10,000 eras. In their eyes, it was a miracle that Lin Shan hadn't been dismembered yet and was still alive. Sword Severing Life's attack was aimed to kill the Empress, and it didn't hold back. Lin Shan blocked it for her, but the price was too high, especially the sword intent. Yu Wangsheng immediately said, "With this old man's alchemy skills, I can't help my lord." Fei Wuxuang walked out and took a deep breath. "Let me try." Lin Shan glanced at her. "Wuxuang, I'll have to trouble you." Fei Wuxuang smiled bitterly. "I can only do my best to deal with the attack caused by Sword God." Lin Shan sat cross-legged in the Dragon Palace, while Fei Wuxuang circulated the technique Twilight of the Night. A gust of wind blew, reflecting Fei Wuxuang's beauty, like a beautiful mandala blooming in the desert. Her jade-like hand touched Lin Shan's shoulder, and as the petals fluttered in the wind, the sky was instantly filled with crimson rain of light. Under the night sky, the aurora was like starlight embellishment, beautiful and dazzling, embellishing Lin Shan's body. Fei Wuxuang was like a fairy dancing, her sleeves swaying gently, and the rain of light was endless, turning into a fairy under the night sky. Every raindrop was like a star in the aurora, merging into Lin Shan's sacred body. Fei Wuxuang's Twilight of the Night was a resurrection divine art from the desolate era, a heaven-defying divine art that could reverse life and death and revive a true god. Fei Wuxuang's realm was insufficient, and although she couldn't really achieve the effect of resurrection, she was still confident in healing Lin Shan. The Twilight of the Night, combined with the power of Lin Shan's immortal godhead fragment, suppressed the sword intent's destructive speed for the first time. Now is the time. Lin Shan urged the power of his primordial spirit, and like a force that could push away rivers, he squeezed out all the sword intent. Only by reducing his injuries could he suppress the destructive power of the sword intent and push it out of his sacred body. Rumble. The sword intent that was like a river converging into the sea instantly rushed out from Lin Shan's head. The sword intent pierced through the clouds and the void in the sky, splitting open endless cracks. Lin Shan suddenly collapsed, and his face became even paler. However, the consciousness between his brows was in high spirits, and he gradually regained his clarity. "I finally released this sword intent." Lin Shan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, almost cursing. In fact, if Lin Shan hadn't used Annihilation, Starburst, and consumed all the sacred power in his Saint Cave, it wouldn't have been difficult to release the sword intent while using the immortal Godhead fragment to heal his injuries. As long as he survived the first wave of sword attacks, The rest wouldn't be a problem at all. However, Lin Shun was in his weakest state when he encountered this sort of attack. Fei Wuxuang's eyes became dizzy, and she fell down after using too much sacred power. Lin Shun stood up and supported her, exhaling. "You've worked hard." Jiang Taishu supported Fei Wuxuang and retreated. Lin Shun solemnly cupped his fists to Fairy Scarlet. "Thank you for your help, Fairy. If it weren't for Fairy Scarlet, the people in the sacred boundary would have been plunged into misery and suffering, and Lin Shun's servants wouldn't have survived." Fairy Crimson, together with Mystic Realm, mobilized a large amount of destiny to save the lives of several nearby realms. Fairy Scarlet smiled sweetly. "I'll leave the rest to you." Lin Chen's fighting spirit sword. Of course, the current disadvantage still hadn't changed. Lin Chen only had the God Slayer talent left, and he had used up all his other killer moves. He really didn't expect the human gods to come back and attack him. However, he firmly believed that as long as he, Lin Shun, didn't die, the gods would never be the final winner. Is that so? Pingon, that girl, blocked the demons alone for us? When Lin Shun heard about Lin Pingon from Fong Ling and the others, he couldn't help but clench his fists. His pale face seemed calm, but his eyes were flashing with killing intent like raging waves. "Demons, we won't rest until one of us is dead." Lin Shun secretly swore in his heart, and the killing intent in his eyes became more and more ruthless. Lin Shun opened the system and glanced at it. Set column, 6-piece of the God of War, ultimate armor charge, 99. 99%. Lin Chen's pupils shrank, and he thought to himself, it's not full yet. He had collected so many sacred artifacts, which should be enough to fill the 2 pieces of the God of War to 100%. Why was it not full yet? Lin Chen turned to look at Xiao Ling. "Ling, do you have any more sacred artifacts?" Xiao Ling shook her head. "No. The 35 regions of the sacred boundary, the inventory of the dragon race, and the saints fighting on the front line. We've taken everything we can." Seeing that everyone was empty-handed, Lin Chen stood up and looked up at the extraterritorial battlefield in the sky. "Even if it's not full yet, we can only force our way through." Suddenly, strong winds blew in the sky of the mystic region, and 3 figures descended. The person in the lead was holding a horsetail whisk, aloof. It was the Everlasting Elder. There was also Long Tianqi and Qin Wudi, the first on the saint talent list. Qin Wudi looked at Lin Shan with a complicated and respectful gaze. The Everlasting Elder's eyes were filled with joy and joy. "We didn't come in vain. Lin Shan, we brought you." Lin Shan was stunned. "Brought? What?" "The last sacred artifacts." The Everlasting Elder flicked his sleeves, and suddenly, a large number of 8th and 9th grade sacred artifacts floated in the air. Even the Everlasting Elder's Everlasting Heavens Will Bell, which was not considered one of the treasured artifacts, was among them. This old man knows that your people are crazily snatching sacred artifacts. You must have your own reasons. After watching the battle between you and the sky-burying Devil Emperor, the Saint Kings were deeply moved. This is the last batch of sacred artifacts that this old man took the risk to collect for you. They have already been removed from their master status. There are a total of 47 sacred artifacts, all of which are the life-saving treasures of the Saint Kings. The Everlasting Elder looked deeply at Lin Shan. This old man won't ask you why you snatched the sacred artifacts. This old man believes that you are on the side of the human race. Other than the Everlasting Elder's treasured artifact, he had basically given everything else to Lin Shan. Their previous plan was to collect the sacred artifacts for Lin Shan, even if he was now a traitor of the human race in the sacred boundary. Lin Shan cupped his fists. "Many thanks." Lin Shan raised his palm and injected a strand of saint energy into the 47 sacred artifacts, beginning to decompose a specific sacred artifact. Host has received the set essence. Chapter 1853. Inside the Water and Fire Divine Power Enchantment. The blade will wheel slash came down from the sky. The Empress swung her black blade, and a black abyss appeared. It released a supergravity that could crush the blade will, and the divine power exploded. Wufeng was amazed. So strong. If I were to fight you alone, I'm afraid we would be evenly matched. Her demonic blade seemed to be able to compress time and space. The pitch-black demonic blade was the Empress' true demonic true form. The blade will wheel/slash came down like an evil dragon, and the snow-white sword radiance swept across the dimension and slashed at the Empress. She turned around and took a step. She was unstoppable, and the demonic blade Heaven Slayer slashed down. The blood moon radiated and devoured everything, including the blade will. Rip! The blade will wheel/slash tore through the void and landed on the Empress' head. The Empress crossed her blades and blocked the attack. The Empress blocked the attack by a hair's breadth, and blood flowed from her snow-white wrists. The demonic aura of the black blade surged, and the surrounding space was compressed to an inch, forcing the blade god to retreat. He had no choice but to dodge the attack. At this moment, Jian Juesheng sneered. When he pulled out his sword again, the sword aura river under his feet condensed into a sheathless sword. The blade god smiled. Wufeng looked serious. Every time Jian Juesheng showed this familiar yet strange smile, it was the time for him to use his strongest swordsmanship to kill the blade god. Clang! A dragon's roar shook the galaxy. The blade god pulled out his sword, and the darkness in the universe was cut apart. It welcomed an extreme white light, and the sword slashed through the universe. The Empress was not afraid at all. She swung her blades rapidly, and the blood moon blade radiance danced in the sky. Wherever the blade radiance passed, everything was sucked away. Time and space collapsed, and light was absorbed. The Empress's blade was sharper than the previous one. Bang! 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 Both sides were evenly matched in terms of offense. The water and fire celestial realm was shaking. This wave of attack affected the nearby battle circle, and the fire and water gods were shocked. The Empress was able to force the blade god and the blade god to this extent. She was really the most powerful person in the demonic tribe. Selfless sword. Jian Juesheng didn't back off. He raised his sword and slashed down furiously. He single-handedly forced back the female Empress's attack. He wasn't afraid of the female Empress's black blade. He fought head-on in close combat. With a single sword, he broke through 10,000 skills. The tip of his sword flicked and stabbed continuously, parrying the demon-slaying saber of the female monarch. When she parried with her black saber, the speed of Jian Juesheng's sword suddenly increased. He aimed at the female monarch's heart, neck, glabella, and other vital points, stabbing out thousands of times. Chi! 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 The demonic wings were broken, and the Empress's defense was broken one after another. The black blade could not block all of the sword god's lightning speed sword. The sword will invaded her body and destroyed her life force. Blood trickled down from her red lips, but the Empress was not at a loss. Instead of retreating, she advanced with her saber. When she swung her black saber, the devil aura of supergravity became stronger. Jian Juesheng slashed apart a strand of sword, intent to block the gravity devil light. His sword continued to stab out as he sneered. Your body is at the end of its flight, and you still want to forcefully block my sword techniques? Dream on. I want to see how long you can block my attacks. Just as Jian Juesheng's voice fell, a bloody light flashed. The Empress had actually followed up with Sword God's sword. When the black saber parried the tip of the sword, she slashed towards his right shoulder. Jian Juesheng's body unconsciously flew towards the demon-slaying saber. A life for a life? Jian Juesheng's expression changed. Rumble. At this moment, a strand of sword will penetrated the Empress's defense from behind. She fell like a kite with a broken string. It was Sword God Edgeless. He said solemnly, "Don't underestimate her. She is fighting us with a mentality of death. If we underestimate her, at least one of us will be dragged to death by her." The Empress was on the verge of collapse, but her consciousness was unprecedentedly clear. Lin Shun, this is my repayment to you. The beautiful woman muttered to herself. The Empress was already forcing herself to use 2 demonic sabers. This was a forbidden move that she did not intend to use. However, when Lin Shun was injured and regained his memory, she could not care about anything else. Even though her demonic body was close to its limit, even though she was enduring all kinds of pain, she did not feel any pain at all. Instead, she became more and more excited. Compared to enduring the torture of the ancestors' will and carrying the weight of the demon cultivator clan, fighting for the person he loved was actually such a simple matter. It was as if even facing death was an insignificant matter. The Empress's injuries continued to accumulate, but the sword and saber god's injuries continued to heal. If the 2 of them were at their peak, they would not even be able to deal with one of them. Among the 4 gods of the human race, if the fire and water gods were at their peak, they would have the combat power of the Empress. The sword and saber gods would have to go one step further. Their saber intents and sword intents could reach the next level, and their divine powers could reach the next level. Byroyan was suppressed by Fire God. She was more and more worried about the Empress's battle situation. If anything happened to the Empress, Brother Lin Shun would probably go through an irreversible change. Rumble. At this moment, the 4 gods of the human race, led by Sword God, released a brilliant divine aura. He looked down at the heavens and the universe. The demon emperors and divine dragons felt a piercing chill. It was done. Their injuries had recovered more than 90% of their strength by killing more than half of the humans in the sacred boundary. They were almost at their peak. Once the Empress fell, it would be the beginning of the extinction of the dragon and demon race. Jian Juesheng was about to attack again, but he could not help but be slightly moved. Her long robe was dyed red with blood, and her hair was like a waterfall that fluttered in the wind. She was surrounded by a devilish blood-red light. She was like a celestial lotus that bloomed in the universe. Even the god of swords and the god of knives were attracted to her. How many people in the world could make such a person fall in love with them? Tears of blood gushed out of her beautiful eyes and slid down her tear mole. Mother, I met the person you mentioned. Now it's my turn to protect him. Her fairy-like charming dimples revealed a touch of longing and determination. Her eyes and brows were filled with affection for him. I used to be so old. I was in my prime when I met you. The Empress threw the pitch-black, demonic saber into the air. The black saber emitted endless black light, and the space between heaven and earth collapsed and squeezed. The sword god and saber god's movements were affected by the supergravity. All of her demonic power was injected into the heaven-slaying demon saber. The Empress swung the saber, and a bloody moon appeared. Wherever the bloody moon passed, everything in the universe was sucked dry. Everything was annihilated, and the void was completely reduced. The dimension was cut open by the saber, and space was collapsing and shrinking. The sword god and saber god did not move, but they were getting closer and closer to the bloody moon. Jian Juesheng raised his hand and clenched it. His divine power surged, and the sword in his hand flew across the sky. When sword intent was injected into the sword, he held it with both hands and slashed furiously. The sword swept across the galaxy. The domineering and violent saber intent rolled over like a raging dragon. The snow-white saber slashed violently in the sky and met the Empress' strongest attack head-on. Boom, boom, boom. The boundary formed by the fire and water celestial realm kept shaking. The terrifying power knocked the dragon gods and demon emperors away, and they retreated to the side. Byroyan wanted to activate the Heavens Tower to protect herself, but a huge flaming hand shot over like a fire snake and cut off her connection with the eternal sacred fire. Rumble. Byroyan was captured by the fire god, and even the Heavens Tower was temporarily sealed. Ha ha! The eternal sacred fire and the Heavens Tower divine weapon are mine. The fire god laughed wildly. He lowered his head and looked at Byron, who was bound by the ring of fire, and revealed a human-like lewd smile. I will treat you well, the lucky one who has the eternal sacred fire. Byroyan, clench your fists and stared at the fire god fearlessly. The water god, Zhuge Taichu, beside her, injected more divine power into the boundary to maintain it. Only the demon emperor's expressions changed drastically. The 6 demon emperors sensed at the same time that the demon army they had sent to attack the Holy Realm had all died. What was going on? Finally, when everything fell silent, a black-robed figure fell, and the demonic saber in her hand dimmed. The strongest attack of the 2 demonic sabers was destroyed by the saber and sword gods. The demon empress was defeated. The empress lowered her eyebrows and revealed a quiet smile. Jian Juesheng did not underestimate her. He pointed his sword with his fingers, and his sword intent glowed. A white rainbow-like sword aura swept out and pointed at the empress, intending to kill her. It's over, demon empress. The 4 gods of the human race had a tacit understanding of the situation and smiled. The divine dragons felt a chill down their spines. They seemed to have seen the history of the dragon race's imminent extinction. At this moment, all the godly realm experts knew that this would be the final turning point in history. But, out of everyone's expectations, crack, bang, what entered the eyes of all the experts was the explosion of the water and fire divine power boundary. A shimmering golden divine fist penetrated through the enchantment barrier and shattered the divine power of water and fire. This fist was invincible and looked down on the universe. This punch shattered the history of the gods, and it contained boundless fury and battle intent. With the fist as the center, time and space collapsed and twisted rapidly. The entire universe was crushed by this fist, and billions of galaxies shook. The golden fist crushed through the void and destroyed the water and fire divine power boundary, and the saber god's sword intent. What? The gods were shocked. Boom, boom, boom. The god of war's hymn echoed in the universe, and golden divine light filled the sky. The divine light illuminated the entire divine river galaxy, and the invincible divine power of the god of war spread everywhere. A ray of golden light shone beside the empress, and a golden armored figure bathed in divine light charged into the battle circle of the gods and caught the unconscious empress. The golden armored figure had his back facing the saber and sword gods. With his back facing the 2 most powerful gods, it was as if he did not care about them at all. At that moment, the saber and sword gods looked up at his back, and their hearts trembled. That was an insurmountable mountain, and an unprecedented sense of oppression instantly assaulted them. The first time the 2 gods saw him, there was only one sentence that could describe his figure and aura. In the universe, only I am supreme. Chapter 1854. Dozens of breaths ago, in the sacred boundary, charging of all set essences has been completed. Charging of the ultimate helmet to 100%. Beginning to integrate the complete gold ultimate Aries set. Integration complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the gold ultimate Aries set. Boom! An invincible divine aura shot into the sky. Everyone was shocked and looked around, thinking that a new god had been born. Like an attribute light ball, the Aries set that only Lin Shun could see appeared out of nowhere and floated in front of him. Gold Aries set charge, 1%. Minimum equipment requirement, 100 million venerable energy. Equipment type, ultimate strength, ultimate attack, ultimate destruction, ultimate attack equipment. Special feature, golden body of the Aries set, auxiliary equipment. If the overall set charge is increased, new special features can be obtained. Ultimate effect, power beyond the limit. There is an upper limit to the charge, and the power increase is determined by the host foundation. The maximum power increase is 999999999 times. The minimum equipment requirement of 100 million venerable energy was met by Lin Shun with the God Slayer talent effect. The Wuji old man said with difficulty, "Even I can't figure out where this mysterious divine aura came from." "Lin Shun, did you succeed?" The Wuji old man, who was once a four-dimensional being, couldn't detect the situation of three-dimensional beings. There was something in the three-dimensional universe that he couldn't see. As expected, when it came to matters related to Lin Shun, there was not a single thing that he could understand. He didn't treat him as a human. He could only guess that some of Lin Shun's plans might have succeeded. "That's right, I succeeded. It's time to end everything." Lin Shun took a deep breath, and the servants understood. They instantly disappeared into the void and left Lin Shun. Lin Shun's God Slayer talent couldn't last for long. The four gods had taken the lives of most of the humans who didn't have enough providence, so the humans' hostility toward Lin Shun was no longer strong enough. It was time to seize every second. The moment Lin Shun reached out to touch the golden battle god armor, with a thought, the golden battle god armor transformed into a golden beam that wrapped around him. The golden war god set automatically fitted Lin Shun as if it were light. It changed its size and perfectly fused with Lin Chen's body. Boom, 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 boom. In an instant, the space-time of the sacred boundary shook violently. With Lin Shun as the center, an undefeatable amount of energy shot out of him and shot up into the sky. Wherever the divine light shone, the praises of the war god reverberated through the heavens and earth. Those who were bathed in divine splendor were witnessing the rise of invincibility in their hearts. What is that? This old man has never seen such divine might before. It's too unique, too miraculous. It's as if standing by his side is invincible. Invincible divine might, immortal divine might. Like an eternally invincible god of war. Countless servants and powerhouses exclaimed in shock, their hearts filled with unprecedented excitement. In the mystic realm, when everyone witnessed the appearance of that golden figure, all the haze in their hearts was swept away. When the dazzling divine splendor receded, all the powerhouses could clearly see a golden-armored figure floating in the sky. Lin Chen's entire body glowed with divine splendor, golden light. His helmet was cut into 3 golden horns that resembled dragon feathers. He wore golden armor, and the indestructible golden outline of his breastplate was engraved with the face of a torch dragon. It was lifelike and intimidating. Divine patterns were engraved on his left and right arm guards, and his shoulder armor was shaped like a dragon's tooth. A cape hung on his right shoulder and danced in the wind, overflowing with a faint golden divine splendor. It was elegant and fierce. A pair of leg armor was cast with golden lacquer, and it emitted an eternal divine splendor. The knee armor was like a dragon's claw, standing on the heavens and earth. Lin Chen's deep eyes glowed with golden divine light, and his might looked down on the world. Lin Chen's pure strength soared like never before. 500 million supreme power, 1 billion supreme power, 2 billion supreme power, and it didn't stop. He had broken through to a level that even he couldn't tell what level he was at. This is the power of the war god. Lin Chen's aura shook, and his gaze pierced through the void. He raised his hand and flexed his 5 fingers. He slightly activated his divine power, and with a flick of his finger, a wisp of divine splendor tore through heaven and earth. The divine splendor pierced through the sky, through time and space, from east to north, piercing through the entire sky of the sacred boundary. Buzz, rumble. The golden divine splendor turned into a beam of divine light, crossing the horizon and instantly piercing through the sky of the 35 regions of the sacred boundary. Heaven and earth were turned upside down, and the sun and moon were out of balance. All the dragons, humans, and demons fell to the ground. The divine splendor swept away all the demonic energy, and all the battles came to an abrupt end. The sky of the 35 regions was clear, and there was no longer a trace of demonic energy. When all the dragons, humans, and demons raised their heads to look, they were all stunned. They saw that the vast and mighty army of the demon race was completely wiped out. The reinforcements of the dragon race, the experts of the human race, and the clansmen of the demon race were instantly stunned, and their minds went blank. The shock in their hearts was so great that it was difficult to describe 1/10,000th of this moment. The 6 true god clones stared in the direction of the mystic realm, their mouths trembling. The demon race was exterminated. With just one move, he had traversed the vast holy world, a distance that would take him several years to traverse even at the speed of light, but he had only used an instant to destroy the entire demon race army. One finger to exterminate an entire race. The servants of the mystic realm fell into an unprecedented ecstasy and cheered excitedly. My lord is #1 in the world. Did you see that? One move, just one finger. One move to exterminate the demon race. One move to pass through the sacred boundary. One move to split the sacred boundary in the middle. My lord is so strong that it's simply unreasonable. Ha ha! What dogs it, Demon Emperor? Gods, they're all trash. None of them can fight. I've said it. The true god clones of the various regions trembled. Since ancient times, no true god had been able to cover the entire sacred boundary with one move. Not to mention, it was so accurate that it only killed the demon race and did not hurt a single human or dragon race. This kind of heaven-defying accurate control of power was unprecedented in the human race, and this was the peak that the gods of the past had never reached. The everlasting elder stared blankly at Lin Chen's back that covered the sky, as if it was holding up the universe, as if there was an insurmountable height. Buzz. At this time, another beam of golden divine light, mixed with vast and endless divine power, passed through the void and pierced through all the true god clones. The 6 true god clones all vomited blood. Their pupils trembled in fear, and some of the true gods helplessly revealed bitter smiles before death. Is a new era of the sacred boundary coming? We are complete losers. Boom! The 6 true god clones turned into ashes, no longer existing in the world. In the next moment, space and time trembled, and a vast divine sound mixed with the power to penetrate space and time spread out. All demon race, listen to my order. I order you to retreat. Retreat. The divine sound shook the world and covered the universe. Boom! The vast divine power rolled over and swept through the sacred boundary. When the vast divine sound descended, the earth rumbled. Bang! 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 All the demon race instantly knelt down as if they had suffered a heavy blow. The earth shook, and the mountains and rivers swayed. All of the rescued human and dragon tribe living beings stared blankly at this incredulous scene. With one sentence, all the demon race knelt down. There was no other reason, just because they couldn't withstand this invincible divine power. Princess Xingyue covered her lips with her jade-like hand, her beautiful eyes trembling as she looked in the direction of the mystic realm. Lin Shun, you've actually become so strong. Mystic realm. When the demon race submitted with one sentence, Lin Shun stared at the void, looking through space and time at the distant battle. With a stomp of his foot, Lin Shun turned into a divine light and soared into the sky, heading straight for the extraterritorial battlefield. The extermination finger from before was just a small test. He didn't have time to experience the power of the golden battle god set. He had to seize every second. Lin Chen's divine power penetrated the dimension and rushed forward at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, a water and fire divine power barrier blocked in front of Lin Chen. When he saw the battle situation inside the barrier, Lin Chen's anger instantly erupted. Die! Lin Chen instantly waved his fist, and the divine fist mixed with majestic anger violently hit the periphery of the water and fire divine power barrier. Bang! Crack! Crack! The golden divine fist instantly shattered the divine power barrier that the water and fire gods were so proud of. The fist wind crushed Jian Juesheng's sword intent that pierced toward the Empress. The gods were shocked. Boom! A gust of wind swept through, and Lin Shen instantly arrived beside his beloved. He hugged the Empress and said apologetically, "I'm too late." The Empress was slightly stunned. She was like a young girl who had just experienced her first awakening of love. She muttered to herself, "Is this a dream after I die?" Lin Chun said with heartache, "It's not a dream. We are both still alive." The Empress was in a daze. She caressed his face and smiled brightly. She was absolutely beautiful. This feeling of being protected by him was really good. Lin Shen summoned a phantom doppelganger to protect the Empress as they retreated. Jian Juesheng said in disbelief, "You actually didn't die after being hit by my sword intent." Lin Shen glanced at him, and his killing intent soared to the sky. Jian Juesheng was shocked. If it wasn't for the sword intent protecting him, his mind would have collapsed instantly. Rumble. At this moment, the various demon thearchs saw the opportunity to escape and retreated. Lin Chun instantly turned his gaze, and his divine gaze swept across. Whoosh! The golden divine light of the god of war instantly illuminated the universe and swept through the universe. Demon the Arch Tianqi, Demon the Archmaniac, and Demon the Archwidow, the three newly ascended demon thearchs suddenly froze. They gasped twice, and their demonic bodies started to fall apart. Golden divine light bloomed from within their demonic bodies and tore apart their defenses, causing cracks to spread all over their demonic bodies. After a few explosions, their majestic demonic bodies instantly exploded, and they were completely annihilated. SSS. What happened? Did I fall into an illusion? The human gods and divine dragons' hearts skipped a beat. When they looked at Lin Chun, they trembled and broke out in cold sweat. They were so scared that they almost fainted. Damn it, he killed 3 demon thearchs with just a gaze. Without a doubt, at this moment, Lin Chun was the strongest existence in the three-dimensional universe. No, one of the strongest. Chapter 1855. He killed 3 thearchs with just a thought. The Empress was stunned. This was her man. He was so strong that it could not be described as heaven-defying. The last 3 veteran demon thearchs were truly scared out of their wits. After becoming demon thearchs, this was the first time they had run away like crazy. Lin Chun did not care about the other demon thearchs. In an instant, his gaze landed on the fire god who had imprisoned Bai Ruoyan. The fire god was in danger. Huang Fuxian's hair stood on end, and his heart palpitated in fear. He felt as if an invisible hand had grabbed his heart. His divine power was throbbing, and his divine body felt as if needles were piercing his flesh. Just being stared at by that pair of golden eyes made Huang Fuxian feel as if he was not facing a god, but an invincible overlord who ruled over thousands of worlds. "Those who touch my people die." Golden divine light shot into the sky. Lin Chen's 5 fingers glowed with the mighty power of the god of war that could destroy ghosts and gods. His figure flashed and destroyed dimensions as he landed on the fire god's head and smashed down with his palm. The fire god was terrified. "Wait a minute, Lin Chun." He instinctively activated all his divine power and turned it into a red lotus. Divine flames flew and burned thousands of dimensions. The divine flames condensed into layers of enchantments that were the fire god's strongest defense. Chi! Boom! The red lotus disappeared in an instant. The nearby space suddenly caved in and collapsed, and all the powerful beings lost their balance. There was no earth-shattering aura, no world-shattering aftershocks, no earth-shattering avatar. What was left was only an instant annihilation. The moment the red lotus disappeared from the fire god's divine body, golden divine light flashed, and his divine body was crushed by Lin Chen's palm. His divine body shattered. Huang Fuxian's divine blood did not even have the chance to escape. He was smashed into nothingness by Lin Chen's palm. The 5 divine dragons stared blankly at this scene, dumbfounded. Instant kill, without any pause or resistance. Huangfu Xian's existence was obliterated into nothingness. He could not even withstand one palm from Lin Shun. Jian Juesheng and Wu Feng's pupils shrank. Their bodies shuddered, and a chill of death rose from their feet to the top of their heads. The fire god of the sacred boundary, Huangfu Xian, had disappeared. This, who the F*CK, said that the human race is a weak ally. How the F*CK is this weak? The mystical dragons cried out in shock. Having witnessed history, they had completely lost their composure. Water god Zhuge Taichu's beautiful face instantly turned pale. This was the first time she was so flustered since she became a god through water. The god of fire was dead, and Bai Ruoyan and the firmament tower were freed. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Zhuge Taichu used the power of the water god to transform into a dragon and enter the void. He used all of his divine power to escape without holding back. Why is it like this? Why would a Lin Shun appear out of nowhere? I'm going crazy. They were just a bunch of trash mortals. So what if he killed them? Why do you want to kill me? Zhuge Taichu disregarded everything and shifted the void. The tear of the water god sprinkled across the starry sky. Because of fear, the tear of the water god became the last bit of starlight in the starry sky. Run, run with all her might. After countless eras of planning, raising countless mortals, submitting herself to the god of fire, proposing to join forces and exterminating many human deities. She became a human deity as a delicate woman and refined the god Thearka's relics. She finally became the ruler of the divine river star system. She was not willing to die here. The saber and sword gods fled in different directions almost at the same time. There was no hesitation at all. What the F*CK was there to fight. Lin Shun, who was wearing the golden battle god set, looked down at the universe with divine light in his eyes. The might of the battle god was invincible. His golden fist suddenly swung toward Zhuge Taichu. No! Zhuge Taichu was shocked. He used his divine power to send a voice transmission to Lin Shun. Lin Shun, I'm willing to be your servant. A god's servant can solve many problems for you. I'm willing to call you my master and serve you forever. Don't kill him. The dazzling golden light turned into a divine fist wind. It was like a spiral that pierced through the universe and crossed dimensions. It exceeded the speed of light by a few times and hit water god Zhuge Taichu's back. Zhuge Taichu's divine body was shattered. His divine power dissipated. The golden light of the battle god flashed and destroyed the last of his blood-stained god's tears. He was annihilated in the vast universe. The water god was destroyed. It was still a punch that did not even have any god's blood left. A punch that dominated the universe and looked down on the heavens. The 5 divine dragons trembled uncontrollably, afraid that Lin Shun would also give them a punch. When that golden fist came, the 5 of them would not be enough to fill the gaps between his teeth. People's hearts could not be guessed. After all, they had seen too many examples of betrayal. No matter how strong Lin Shun was previously, he was not beyond their range of resistance. As long as both sides were at the same level, the dragon race would always be able to keep their cool. But it was not the case now. Lin Shen's strength was absolutely overwhelming. Even if the number of divine dragons doubled, they were not qualified to be compared to him. Lin Shen had absolute power over all the races. They did not dare to bargain with Lin Shun with their previous status. Lin Shun, who was wearing the golden battle god's armor, turned and looked at the mystical dragons. For the first time, he revealed a smile. Dear Divine Dragon Seniors, my promise to the Dragon Tribe is still valid. We will still be allies in the future. Lin Shen's words instantly set the Dragon Clan's mind at ease. The 5 divine dragons heaved a sigh of relief, as though a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Their admiration for Lin Shun rose to another level. If they asked themselves honestly, if the divine dragons controlled Lin Chen's level of strength. The five of them might not be able to not have any ulterior motives. Everyone had selfish motives. Even divine dragons were vulgar. Bai Ruoyan flew over like a fairy. Shui was worried. She even hugged Lin Chun and asked with concern, "Little brother Lin Chun, are you really okay?" According to her understanding of Lin Chun, some of his trump cards were often accompanied by a huge price. She was afraid that the price Lin Chun paid after this battle would be enough to take his life. If that was the case, Bai Ruoyan did not want to live anymore. Lin Chun retracted his gaze. He stroked her hair and smiled. "I won't die before I have a black horse football team with you, Sister Ruoyan." Bai Ruoyan blushed. "Why are you still so naughty at this time?" A beautiful woman in a blue palace dress flew over. The extreme hell water divine dragon exclaimed. Although they escaped, the divine river galaxy will be safe with Lin Chun in charge in the future. Lin Chen's eyes glinted. Looking at him, the extreme hell water divine dragon's heart pounded violently. He smiled coldly. They won't be able to escape. The divine dragons were stunned. The three veteran demon emperors and the saber and sword gods had already escaped in different directions. If he escaped outside the divine river galaxy and sneaked into some remote star regions, it would be even easier to find them than finding a needle in a haystack. Lin Chun raised his hand high up into the air. Boundless golden divine radiance in the shape of specks of light gathered in the center of his palm, and they continuously converged and stretched out. Host has activated the War God Set's supplementary equipment. Tailored for the host, War God Spear. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A golden spear with dense golden light appeared in Lin Chen's hand. It was 20 feet long, with a triangular tip and two sharp edges. It was extraordinary. With the spear in hand, his cape fluttered. Dazzling divine light illuminated his domineering figure. Everyone saw the true face of the golden war god. They will have nowhere to run. Lin Chun held the war god spear in hand and stepped on the brilliant divine light. He pointed at the vast universe and declared with absolute confidence, "My attack range is the entire universe." Chapter 1856. The god of war's spear trembled, and golden light rippled outward. Lin Chun gripped the spear with both hands, and he aimed it at the three demon emperors. His divine power gathered in his eyes, and his gaze pierced through the void to capture the three veteran demon emperors' light. They were about to escape to the south of the divine river galaxy. Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor, Calamity Demon Emperor, Bloodthirsty Demon Emperor, it's time to go. Lin Chen's divine power gathered, and he suddenly swung the spear. The tip of the spear unleashed an earth-shattering divine power, and it turned into a ray of divine light that swept through the vast energy nebulas. The three demon emperors, who had escaped to three different directions at the edge of the divine river galaxy, were about to heave a sigh of relief when the divine light flashed. The three demon emperors were shocked. This is Lin Chen's attack. I've already escaped to this place. How can he catch up to me? How can there be such a powerful being in the human race? The demon race has lost to the human race. I can't accept this. Divine light flashed, and the spear was like a ring of stars, destroying large amounts of nebulas and galaxies in its path. It was like the most terrifying energy storm in the universe, and it annihilated the last three demon emperors. Lin Chun gripped the spear again, and the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. The human race's sword god, sword extinction, saber god edgeless. There will be no more gods in the history of the human race. Lin Chun thrust his spear forward twice, and the tip of the spear surged with a spiral of golden light that swept through everything. At the center of the storm was a ray of divine light that pierced through the universe, and the divine light appeared at the end of the universe, crossing through dimensions. Outside the divine river galaxy, the saber and sword gods, who were charging forward at full speed, each fled in different directions. Just as they entered another galaxy where the energy environment was extremely harsh and lifeless, they heaved a sigh of relief. Fleeing to this place is no longer within the range of Lin Chen's ability to interfere or pursue. Before Saber God Nihility could finish, his sword intent exploded, and his instincts told him that death was coming. What a joke! How can you kill your way here? On the other side, Sword God Jian Juesheng's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and he raised his sword and roared hysterically. Lin Shun, I've planned for countless eras, and I don't even care about the divine dragon demon emperors. The demon emperors are also losers. I am the final victor, and I will not submit to you even in my death. Sword Jian Juesheng's swords, sort of the sword of swordsmanship, and I have witnessed the era of the antiquity of antiquity of antiquity era. Time death's nihility of death. Jian Juesheng was unyielding even in death. He turned around and faced the enemy head-on. Holding his sword, he slashed out violently. His sword intent was like the unparalleled sharpness of the Milky Way, shooting straight into the nine heavens. His unyielding fighting spirit and god power poured into his sword. His god body burned fiercely as he used everything he had to slash at Lin Chen's spear. Of heavens, of God of gods of the of heaven Jian Juesheng, who was dressed in a green robe, exploded into countless fragments of light, and his of deaths of death collapsed. His of death crumbled from top to bottom. Before his of deaths of death shattered, a will came from the horizon. You shouldn't look down on mortals. Jian Juesheng's pupils constricted, and he exploded into pieces before turning into dust, leaving behind a bright elemental light that disappeared under the night sky. The sword and saber gods had completely perished. From this moment on, the history of the gods and the holy world came to an end. But the history of the human race had just begun. Lin Shun heaved a long sigh of relief. Finally, it's over. Previously, it was because of this additional equipment that the sixth piece of the War God set was filled with energy several times more than normal pieces. Lin Shun had almost failed because of this. Luckily, there was Lin Ping and the Wuji old man. Lin Ping and had fought for the last bit of time for everyone, while the Wuji old man had staked everything on a single throw. Carrying the name of a traitor, he had gathered the last batch of powerful saint artifacts for Lin Shun. Thinking of Lin Ping, and Lin Shun felt a stabbing pain in his heart. It's time for such an era to end. Lin Shun looked into the distance. The moment the four gods had completely fallen. Within the Divine River Galaxy, all the galaxies that belonged to the human race, the mortal world, and the mortal world were all covered in goose feather-like snow. Only sacred kings could see this scene of goose feather-like snow. That's right, this wasn't real snow, but providence. It was the providence that had been sealed by the gods. It was the providence that should belong to the entire human race. Lin Shun stood in the sky with his spear in hand. He held the sun and moon in his hands and stood above the sacred boundary, watching the providence flying snow. The demon race, the dragon race, the human race, all the surviving sacred kings, and all the living beings that could see him all focused their gazes on him. How would this overlord of the new era deal with the various races? Would he be like a tyrant, an overlord, or like the gods in the past, ruling the entire era, controlling the providence, keeping mortals in captivity, and not returning it to the human race? Lin Shen spoke sternly. His voice rumbled and spread throughout the human race. From this day on, there will be no more gods in the human race. I, Lin Shun, will not touch the providence of the human race. I will return it to the human race. From today onwards, the path of the human race will only belong to you. From now on, with me, Lin Shun, there will be no more gods. Everyone in the new era will have a long rainbow of providence. Your opportunities, your history, and your era will be created by yourselves. I swear in the name of the God of War that no one can seal the providence of the various regions. Those who want to challenge this rule, feel free to find me, Lin Shun, whether it is 10 eras, 100 eras, or 10,000 eras, Lin Shun, will always accept challenges. Lin Shun raised his spear and pointed it at the center of the providence of the sacred boundary. Suddenly, he waved his spear. The tip of the spear drew a golden light, sweeping all the providence all the way to the divine river galaxy. From the inside to the outside, the sacred boundary, the mortal world, and the mortal world, every single human who was still alive in the saint's world sensed an extremely significant change. It was a mysterious feeling. It was as if they were walking in the cold darkness and suddenly saw a warm ray of dawn. It was very gentle and warm, but it was also powerful and filled them with strength. It was as if some shackles had been completely unlocked. On the other side, Fairy Crimson stood in the sea of clouds above the Dragon Palace in the strange region. When she looked into the distance, her fairy-like appearance was ethereal, and her eyes trembled slightly as she stared at the sky. She muttered to herself, "The providence has been completely liberated." That's right, the providence of the human race had been liberated. She could feel that the once exuberant and powerful providence of the human race had once again flowed to the mortals. If Lin Shun had previously liberated the providence of the Saber Dao and the Sword Dao, but now, all the providence that belonged to the human race in the sacred boundary had been completely liberated. 2 lines of clear tears streamed down her face. Fairy Crimson's eyes were filled with tears of joy. She clasped her hands together and prayed. The era of the gods' rule was over. Chapter 1857. After the release of Providence, the future providence of the human race would belong to every human, but how much providence one could obtain in the end depended on one's luck. Moreover, providence wasn't directly injected into the human race by some cultivation or power. It gently and deeply affected every living being. But at least, it was certain that the human race would enter a period of rapid development in the future. It might even usher in the primordial age of gods, where heroes would emerge in large numbers and sage kings would be as common as clouds. At that time, there would be at least 2 more sacred boundary in the human race, and maybe even more, in a dragon tomb in the battlefield of the 9 races. The little girl in white, who was transformed by the ancient Taishi dragon, sat on a cliff, swinging her legs and smiling. What a big fight! Lin Shun of the human race. In the ancient god palace in the Tsang Yu secret realm, the ancient gods will floated in the air with his hands behind his back and laughed. History moves forward, and the human race moves forward. In the sacred boundary, Qin Wudi and the others exclaimed as they felt the miraculous increase in providence. I didn't expect that the providence of the sacred boundary would really be released. He did it, something we never thought he could do. No one ever thought that someone would end the age of gods. The Wuji old man's eyes were full of hope. He was sometimes silent and sometimes laughed. Did Lin Shun save us? Isn't he a traitor of the human race? What kind of show is this? At least we survived. I also feel an unprecedented feeling. It seems that I can try to cultivate to a new level. In the sacred boundary, countless complicated voices rose and fell. The demon race's faces were gloomy. They more or less felt it. The demon cultivator clan had lost their momentum. Jojo continent. The moment providence belonged to the mortal world, the voice spread throughout the 9 states. Those who knew about Lin Shun were overjoyed. This voice, it's Lin Shun. The class leader released providence. He must have done something big again. This is the first time I've heard the class leader speak so seriously. I'm not used to it. If the class leader doesn't show off a few times, I'll feel uncomfortable. Based on this announcement, doesn't that mean Lin Shun has defeated the gods of the human race's sacred boundary? This is too ferocious. Doesn't that mean Lin Shun will be back soon? Quickly pass down the order to prepare the wedding banquet immediately. What's the point of preparing a wedding banquet? I'm still waiting for the most handsome man in the world's son-in-law to propose marriage. Ha ha. The world was filled with his legends. As the human race welcomed the dawn of a new era, a beautiful figure stood in front of Lin Shun. Lin Chen's pupil shrank. The newcomer's black hair was like a waterfall, his black saber was like an abyss, and his blood saber was like the moon. Tears of blood hung from the corners of his eyes. His deep black pupils corroded his mind, and pain and struggle could be seen between his brows. Lin Shun of the human race, the blood feud of the demon race for generations will not end so easily. The Empress swung the demon slayer blade with one hand, ignoring the blood on her wrist, and slashed at Lin Shun. The blood moon blade that could devour everything shot toward him. What? The mystical dragons turned pale with fright. Why did the Empress, who was lying in Lin Chen's arms like a little girl, suddenly go berserk? The mystical dragons instinctively looked toward Bai Ruian. Could it be jealousy? Chi. The Empress's blade struck Lin Chen's space, sucking away everything. Time and space collapsed, and Lin Shun was sucked in by the blade. Although Lin Shun had the golden body of the god of war to protect him, his expression changed slightly even though he was fine after taking the attack head-on. This slash was truly aimed at killing him, Lin Shun. Murderous intent. It was all real. The mystical dragons were even more confused. Something was wrong. Jealousy shouldn't be to this extent. No, it's something else in Yao Er's body. Lin Chen's gaze instantly focused on her Demon Slayer blade. The attributes of the Demon Slayer blade became even more dazzling. The Empress's demonic blade was not like the sacred or divine weapons of the human race. The human race is level 8 sacred and level 9 divine weapons. No matter how they transformed, they all belong to the category of equipment. However, the Empress's demonic blade was an amalgamation of energy. It was a demonic blade formed from an almost unimaginable energy of the demonic tribe. Therefore, its lethality far exceeded that of ordinary equipment. The Empress's eyes changed from one purple and one black to a pitch-black color, devoid of any vitality or charm. Tears of blood flowed from the corners of her eyes. The two demonic blades met, and the Empress attacked Lin Shun again and again. Not good. There's not much energy left. Also, the God Slayer's duration is about to end. Lin Shun swung his divine fist and faced the Empress head-on. The god of war set's energy was about to run out. Lin Shun did not dare to face the Empress's attacks head-on. He had to parry her attacks without hurting her. Yaoer, what's wrong? Let's sit down and talk. Lin Shun dodged her demonic blade and shouted coldly. There's nothing to talk about. The demonic tribe came to this era with shame. All of this came from the human race, and the human race must repay it. It's only right and proper to take revenge. The two demonic blades slashed violently in the air. Lin Shun raised his hand and blocked the two demonic blades with the defensive power of the armor. Before he could speak, the Empress spoke again. Either kill me or die. You have no choice. I am the Empress of the demonic tribe. I will bear the responsibility of the demonic tribe's success or failure. Let me fulfill the last wishes of our ancestors. The Empress was a little hysterical. Lin Shun sensed that something was wrong. There's something else attached to Yao Er's will. Previously, the Empress's state had reached the end of its tether. She was angry for Lin Shun, disobeyed the will of the ancestors, and fought against the two gods. After being saved by Lin Shun, her mind relaxed, and the will implanted by the ancestors became the real dominant power. Compared to living beings, the current Empress was more like a killing machine. The God Slayer is approaching the time limit. System warns the host that if the God Slayer talent state ends, the host cannot meet the minimum requirements to where the golden battle god set and will be forcibly removed. Lin Shun was running out of time. Is that so? Demonic Empress. Lin Shun's eyes flashed with divine light. Then I'll take take your lofty ideals and sleep forever. Lin Shun moved his body, stepped on the golden light, and suddenly waved his shining golden fist, hitting the Empress directly. Divine power erupted instantly. The 5 divine dragons sucked in a breath of cold air. Was there need to play so big when the 2 of them were fighting? Buzz, rumble. Lin Shun punched the Empress's position and happened to hit the Demon Slayer blade. Crack, crack, crack. The enchanting and colorful blood moon demonic blade suffered all the power of the god of war's punch. Cracks burst out and spread. A series of crazy roars came from the demonic blade. That was the will of the demonic tribe's ancestors. Humans of today, kill all of them. There's no good in the human race. Heartless man, golden feather god, you created us and gave us love and family, but you personally sent us to hell. I want your descendants to die a horrible death. Streaks of frenzied intent overflowed from the heaven-slaying demon saber, bringing with them a terrifying killing intent. When the demonic blade broke, the energy overflowed, and the wills inside subconsciously rushed toward the Empress. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Lin Shun slammed his palm down again. Chi! Bam! 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 The Demon Slayer blade was instantly smashed into powder by Lin Shun. All the wills turned into attribute values and were all destroyed. The Empress's beautiful purple eyes glowed again. Blood flowed from the corner of her lips, but she was no longer violent and murderous like before. She was delicate and light like a kite with a broken string. The black blade disappeared and fell into the void. Lin Shun hugged Luo Yao and smiled as if relieved of a burden. From now on, the demonic tribe no longer has a demonic empress. Chapter 1858. The heaven-slaying demon saber was the source of Luo Yao's hatred and power. Lin Shun had taken the risk and personally destroyed the heaven-slaying demon saber. He had also destroyed the power and foundation that the demon cultivator had passed down to Luo Yao, as well as their endless hatred and incomplete will. However, there was also a risk. Destroying the heaven-slaying demon saber would instantly annihilate the will within the demonic saber, not giving the many ancestors of the demon cultivator any chance to retaliate against Luo Yao. If not for the absolute power of the war god set, Lin Shun would not have had the ability to do so. Luo Yao weakly collapsed in his arms and softly said, "What do you plan to do?" The conflict between the human clan and the demon cultivator clan. Lin Shun and Luo Yao clasped their fingers tightly and laughed. "I naturally have a way." 1. Activating the last bit of pure power. The divine radiance was dense, and the golden light overflowed, spreading throughout the entire divine river galaxy. All demon cultivator clan, human clan, listen up. Lin Shun said the words that all living beings were waiting for. The war is over. The divine voice spread throughout the sacred boundary, echoing throughout the endless earth. Everyone was bewildered. Some of the demon cultivator clan's faces were sinister, some were relieved, and some were unwilling to accept this. The defeat of the demon cultivator clan had become a fact. Mysterious Realm's Wuji old man frowned. He had thought that Lin Shun had a good solution. If this was the answer, then Lin Shun would have to exterminate the demonic race. Otherwise, their vengeance would never end. However, just as a portion of the demon cultivator clan wanted to counterattack and drag a portion of the human clan down with them, the divine voice sounded again. However, the future of the human clan and the demon cultivator clan has only just begun. The war can end, but your revenge must not stop. From today onwards, the demon cultivator clan will take revenge, and the human clan will take revenge. Firstly, the sacred boundary will create a suitable area for mortals. As long as the enmity between your clans does not affect mortals and does not maliciously carry out an indiscriminate massacre, the rest will be settled by yourselves. I do not care. Secondly, the human race will send enough people to join forces with the demon race and open up a new world in the divine river galaxy for the demon race, a place suitable for survival. Thirdly, the intersection between the devil's new world and the human race's sacred boundary will become a free and peaceful zone for the two races. There will be free trade and mutual cultural inheritance. No fighting is allowed in the peace zone. Violators will be punished as traitors of both races. Fourthly, the demon race can choose a new system and new leader. The Devil Person Empress has already been defeated by me, and your Devil Person race no longer has an Empress. At this point, your Devil Cultivator race will be forbidden from fighting for 100 years. After 100 years, you can do whatever you want. As long as you don't violate my rules, you can find whoever you want to take revenge on. Lin Chen's speech stunned the entire Devil Cultivator race from top to bottom. Was this revenge? If they lost, they would still have a chance to take revenge in the future. Hearing this series of conditions, Jiang Taishu exclaimed, "Professional." The everlasting old man carefully tasted it and laughed. "Wonderful, truly wonderful. Little friend Lin Shun, this move of yours is a combination of vertical and horizontal. You're one step ahead of me." After Fong Ling, Lang Fanyun, and the other veterans carefully tasted it, they came to a realization and smiled knowingly. Although their lord often played dirty tricks, she never used schemes to handle important matters. The most profound scheme was an open scheme that could make the enemy willingly submit to her. Some of the experts of the Devil Cultivator race also seem to have come back to their senses and understood Lin Chen's purpose. Even if the upper echelons of the Devil Cultivator understood Lin Chen's purpose, they could not refute it. They were even grateful to Lin Chen. Even after being defeated, he still had this kind of right. It was simply not like the treatment of a defeated person. Lin Chen knew very well that as long as there were people, the grudges and hatred between races would never disappear. Did some humans not have any hatred for the Devil Cultivator race? Did the Devil Cultivator race not have any hatred for the human race? Vice versa, some people were born with these blood feuds on their backs. Since that was the case, why bother covering it up? Their own lives and paths would be left to them to solve. Lin Chen grinned and said, "Yao, are you satisfied?" Luo Yao held his palm tightly and said softly, "Thank you." She knew that Lin Chen did this for her. If he were to force the Devil Cultivator race to not be able to take revenge, it would not be justifiable for the compatriots of the Devil Cultivator race who had been killed. Most importantly, Lin Chen did not want Luo Yao to be bitterly disappointed. Even without the will of her ancestor forcing her, she had still been the empress of the Devil Cultivator race for so many years. It was impossible for her to let it go so easily. Furthermore, with Lin Chen's position, if the Devil Cultivator race could still find a target for revenge, it was only right and proper for them to take revenge. In the past, the saints of the human clan had humiliated the Devil Cultivator race many times. However, Lin Chen's bottom line was that he should not implicate ordinary people. Secondly, even if it was a saint, there was a high chance that he was not the target of the Devil Cultivator race. One had to know that the grudges between the human clan and the Devil Cultivator race had happened dozens of years ago. At that time, the saint could be considered half an old monster. If one traced it back even earlier, it would be a few eras earlier. If they wanted to find him, they would have to be at least at the life and death realm. That's right, in short. The target of the Devil Cultivator race's revenge was always a small number of middle and high-level saints. It had nothing to do with mortals or most of the saints. In the mysterious realm, Lin Chen's servants were all of the same mind. They were all amazed by the Lord's actions. Long Jiushan laughed out loud. "It seems that the Lord has already thought about it." Yin Tiandao said, "Indeed, some of the Devil Cultivator race have been baptized by extreme thoughts since they were young because of the harsh ecological environment. Give them a good place to live. Why do they have so much to do?" Yu Weisheng stroked his beard and smiled. 100 years of truce is enough for us to build a new area for them. If the Devil Cultivator race and the human clan can have a large amount of communication, the younger generation of the new era will naturally lower their hostility. Jiang Waner smiled like a flower and said, "And after the Empress was defeated, The devil cultivator race will be leaderless and fall into a state of being without a leader. Naturally, there will be a wave of internal division, and all sides will be kings and hegemons. It will be even more impossible to start a large-scale war. As for the final revenge problem, with Lin Chen's deterrence, as long as it was not a blood feud for generations, no devil cultivator race would be stupid enough to casually pick the human clan to kill. It would not affect the mortals and would be settled by themselves. The Lord's method might not be the most perfect, but it was the most effective move. The war is over. Devil cultivator race, withdraw from the sacred boundary. There will be a place for you in the divine river galaxy many years later. As the divine voice spread, countless kneeling devil cultivators barely stood up and actually began to fade away. In the extraterritorial battlefield, Imperial God Dragon gave Lin Chen a thumbs up. Lin Chen, strong. Before Imperial God Dragon could finish speaking, Lin Chen's eyes became dizzy. Whoosh! The War God Spear turned into starlight and disappeared. Even the Golden War God set turned into countless rays of divine light and disappeared from Lin Chen's body. His illusory sacred points all disappeared. All hostility has disappeared. The God Slayer's duration has ended. Lin Chen did not even have the strength to hover in the air. His eyes became dizzy, and he fell into the void. Almost at the same time, the Emperor's consciousness also fainted. The two had both reached their limits in this battle. Bairuoyan turned into a wisp of smoke and caught the two. She lowered her eyes and looked at Luo Yao who was holding the youth and leaning in his arms. Bairuoyan could not help but smile. You want to hug him even before you faint. How much do you like him? Chapter 1859. From then on, the fate of the two races would be decided. The entire demon-human army began to retreat to the divine River Star system. With Lin Chen's servants as the leaders, they began to open up a temporary territory for them. Sooner or later, they would build a territory that belonged to the demon-human race. Meanwhile, the higher-ups of the demon-human race began to argue over the selection of a leader. The dragon race was the biggest winner. The dragon race also played a key role in the reinforcements this time. The demon-human army was completely annihilated. However, the demon-human race had not been truly exterminated. The four demon-human realms still had some demons that had yet to mature. However, these demons would be dealt with by the human race in the future. As for the human race, although they had won because of Lin Chen and were not exterminated, 60% of the human race had perished because the gods had sealed their fate and extracted the lives of all living beings. The number of humans that had perished was truly an astronomical figure. They had almost been exterminated. In the extraterritorial battlefield, the 5 mystical dragons witnessed the entire process and could not help but sigh. This was an outcome that they had never expected. The beautiful woman in a red dress that was transformed from a myriad flames divine dragon sighed. I originally thought that resisting the demon-human race and the demons and helping the human race survive the war would be the best outcome. Who would have thought that Lin Shan would actually exterminate all the higher-ups of the demon-human race? Royal God Dragon chuckled. Our young friend Lin Shan is indeed the unparalleled #1 in all of history. I'm afraid there's nothing in this universe that can hold him back. I'm sure his stage will be the higher dimensional universe. While the mystical dragons were having a heated discussion, only the ancient desolate azure dragon, who had transformed into a gray-robed man, stared at the unconscious Lin Shun and Luo Yao. A wisp of thought quietly rose like an evil fire. His eyes flickered with a strange light. He turned to the 4 mystical dragons and suddenly said, Everyone, perhaps this is the best opportunity. The mystical dragons were stunned and looked at the ancient desolate azure dragon. He said solemnly, The immortal realm warriors of the various races have been annihilated. The demon-human elders are dead, and the demon emperor has fallen. Apart from Lin Shun, the human race has no other immortal. Furthermore, Lin Shun and the empress of the demon-human race have fallen into a coma. The human race only has the woman who controls the Heaven's Tower left. Up until now, our race is the one with the most complete combat power. The eyes of the ancient, desolate azure dragon shone with the pride and arrogance unique to the dragon race, with a hint of madness hidden within. The primordial azure dragon's words caused the four mystical dragons' expressions to change drastically. That's right, if they killed the Empress and Lin Chen now, the entire universe would belong to the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan became the only overlord. This was a great achievement that the Dragon Clan's ancestors had not achieved for many eras, even though the current era was no longer the same as before. The five great divine dragons of the Dragon Clan were the only immortal state warriors left in the world. Right now, the only person who could fight against them, Lin Shun, was in his weakest state. Only Bai Ruoyan, who could temporarily control the firmament tower, was left. She could fight against the dragon god. As for the myriad manifestations of gods that had once awed countless eras, it had also vanished. The demon tribe, the human tribe, and the demon tribe that still had their last breath were now more like a piece of meat at the mouth of the divine dragon. As long as Lin Shun and the Empress hadn't awakened, when the world is at your fingertips, the opportunity to become the overlord of the universe was right in front of him. It was impossible to say that he had no selfish motives. The nature of intelligent beings, greed, lust, and desire, were like a speck of black ink on a piece of white paper, growing bigger and bigger. Whoosh! The beautiful woman in the azure blue dress came before the ancient, desolate azure dragon and stared at him. Azure dragon, don't suggest such a dangerous idea. Don't forget the kindness Lin Chun has shown us. He has the power of absolute domination, but he has never killed the Dragon Clan. The corners of the primordial azure dragon's lips curled into a cold smile. That's exactly why we have to declare our independence. Do you really want to peacefully ally with the human race and allow him to ride over the heads of our great dragon race? The Dragon Clan's arrogance, pride, and nature were growing. Some of the other mystical dragons' mental barriers and bottom lines had quietly relaxed a little. The beautiful woman in the palace dress raised her eyebrows and scolded angrily. Azure Dragon, stop talking. No matter how prejudiced you are against the human tribe, you shouldn't ignore Lin Chen's attitude toward the Dragon Clan. Moreover, he has given us sufficient rewards. If it weren't for him in this battle, the Dragon Clan would have been wiped out by the gods. He has saved our lives. The ancient, desolate azure dragon sneered. History is written by the victors. If it weren't for him, nothing would have happened. And you, when did you hook up with the human tribe? Do you like the human tribe that much? He glanced in by Royan's direction and sneered. Or do you have your eyes on this little one? The beautiful woman in the palace dress had a frosty expression. The water god's dragon breath in her palm was faintly disappearing like a storm. Her cold gaze was as cold as ice. She said coldly, "So, you insist on doing things your own way?" The ancient, desolate azure dragon raised his eyebrows. "I'm just stating the truth. You want to stop me? You can stop me, but can you stop the other mystical dragons?" The beautiful woman in the palace dress, pretty face changed slightly. Only then did she realize that the other mystical dragons seemed to be moving as well. An invisible crack began to appear between the five mystical dragons. Bai Ruoyan, who was holding up Lin Shun, and Luo Yao, suddenly felt that something was wrong. It was the premonition that the eternal sacred fire in her body had transmitted to her. It was as if a crisis was targeting her. No, rather than saying that it was targeting her, it was more accurate to say that it was targeting Lin Shun and Luo Yao, who were with her. Bai Ruoyan's beautiful eyes turned, and a strange light flashed in her beautiful eyes. She stared at the five mystical dragons who had suddenly stopped moving and stopped in the void. Could it be? Bai Ruoyan quietly let the firmament pagoda release a ray of divine light to protect Lin Shun and Luo Yao. Once the matter was exposed, the two of them would not be able to withstand the torment of battle. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, the beautiful woman in the palace dress immediately looked at Imperial Divine Dragon, who had the highest authority, and said word by word, "Aren't you going to state your position? With your shrewdness, you know very well what's at stake here." Imperial Divine Dragon's dragon eyes shone with divine light. Golden dragon aura circled around him like a dragon. He took a deep breath. Overlord of the universe. This is really the great cause that the ancient dragon ancestors wanted to accomplish. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. If he could become the overlord of this universe, he could take all the remaining unexplored galaxies and secrets. The secrets of the great war of the 9 races, the information and inheritance controlled by the demon race, and the fate and territory of the human race. He would be the absolute overlord of this world. The beautiful woman in the palace dress was stunned. "You can't be crazy, right?" The ancient desolate azure dragon sneered and stopped talking. He stood coldly in front of the beautiful woman in the palace dress. The aura of the ancient desolate azure dragon coiled around him like a vicious dragon. Vast dragon aura rolled out like a windstorm. The ancient desolate azure dragon's sharp eyes stared directly at the extreme hell water divine dragon. The beautiful woman in the palace dress narrowed her eyes. Some of the mystical dragons showed hesitation, while others were eager to make a move. At this moment, the atmosphere between the 5 mystical dragons was extremely strange. Chapter 1860. The beautiful lady in the palace gown gathered endless dragon aura in her palm. The aura of the extreme hell water divine dragon transformed into a giant dragon that danced in the air, just as the atmosphere was getting weirder and weirder. Suddenly, a young and deep voice mocked them. Don't stop. Please continue with your performance." The handsome and carefree Lincoln was clad in the Dark Shadow King's robes with purple and gold patterns. He stood in the darkness with dragon wings spread out on his back as he smiled with narrowed eyes. He stood in the void above them and laughed. "Continue, don't stop. I think you guys are very creative. This idea should be very useful to the dragon tribe. I won't teach you how to do things. I'll just watch you die." Seeing Lin Can's style, the ancient desolate azure dragon's expression changed slightly. "Khanate, Dark Shadow King." Buzz, buzz, buzz. Space rippled as 3 balls of shadows silently appeared by Lin Can's side like ghosts. The ancient desolate azure dragon sneered. "Is this generation's Khanate, Dark Shadow King so weak? You don't even have the combat power of an immortal. You want to stop us?" Lin Can smiled innocently, just like his elder brother. "That's right. In terms of combat power, I can't beat you guys. Even if all the founding elders come together, they still can't beat one of you divine dragons." However, Lin Can smiled brightly like a blooming peach blossom. He was as innocent as an honest child. "However, have you forgotten the power of the Dark Shadow tribe? Even if I can't beat you guys, I can still escape with my elder brother and my future sisters-in-law." Boom! The divine dragon's minds exploded. They recalled how Lin Can manage to snatch Lin Chen away from the sword god and knife god's attacks. He even managed to sneak into the fire and water divine power boundary. Even the water god and fire god's divine power boundary couldn't trap the Dark Shadow tribe. After breaking through, the water god and fire god each had the combat power of an empress. If they couldn't trap the Dark Shadow tribe, even when they worked together, with the 5 divine dragons working together, it would probably be... Changing the topic, Lin Can chuckled. "Don't tell me there's really a dragon who thinks he can kill my elder brother now. No way, right? Don't tell me there's really someone who thinks he can eat sh*t? Is there really someone who doesn't know that my big brother's attack range is the entire universe?" The mouths of the mystical dragons twitched violently. The beautiful woman in the palace gown smiled. They had witnessed the Dark Shadow race's spatial talent with their own eyes. Unless the ancient Aeon dragon was still alive, the 5 divine dragons had no confidence in suppressing them. If he allowed the Shadow King to escape with Lin Chun and the Empress, by the time they recovered, the mystical dragons had witnessed with their own eyes how perverted this couple was. He could fight against the demon tribe and the demon tribe alone, but fighting against the dragon tribe alone was no problem at all. Lincoln smiled and said, "I heard you're very brave. Primordial Azure Dragon?" The ancient Azure Dragon's killing intent surged, and a violent killing intent brewed in its dragon eyes. However, it did not dare to act rashly. Lincoln smiled playfully. "Me? When the time comes, I'll take big brother and sister-in-law to the galaxy outside for a few rounds. We'll come back after playing for 180 years. When the time comes, we'll take off. We'll also watch world classics, such as the death-courting dragon tribe's current survival situation and what happened after the dragon tribe became a rare species." At the end of his speech, Lin can turn to look at Royal God Dragon. "Royal God Dragon, you're a smart dragon, aren't you?" Royal God Dragon broke out in a cold sweat, as if he had just woken up from a dream. Boom, boom, boom. Royal God Dragon suddenly attacked and sent the ancient Azure Dragon flying with his claw. The latter was caught off guard and cursed angrily. "Idiot, put away your thoughts just now. Didn't you see how hard Lin Chen fought and how friendly he was to the dragon tribe just now? You're still thinking about him? Are you still a divine dragon? Do you have a shred of tolerance like a divine dragon? He still has to go back to the bridal chamber in a few days. Don't you have any civility? Pounce on your head." The mystical dragon's mouths twitched violently. The beautiful woman in the palace gown tried her best to hold back her laughter. Lincoln gave a thumbs up, his eyes shining. He praised, "Look, this is a true moral exemplary dragon, a role model. I won't keep you company for now. I look forward to your performance. You're a great man. Oh no, a great dragon." Royal God Dragon forced a smile and said, "King of the Dark Shadow Tribe, I hope that today's small matter won't affect the relationship between our tribes, and that it won't reach Lin Chen's ears, right? I'll pay a visit to the Dark Shadow Tribe some other day, and personally bring an apology gift." Lincoln patted his chest seriously and promised, "Of course, I'm the Dark Shadow King. I swear on my integrity and my identity as the Dark Shadow King that I'll keep my mouth shut and not force you. If you say one more word, I'll treat you as my father." Royal God Dragon pretended not to hear and forced a smile. "Thank you, Dark Shadow King." Byroyan couldn't help but burst into laughter. She unconsciously let out a sigh of relief. She activated Heaven's Tower and brought Lin Chun and Luo Yao back to the sacred boundary. With Lin Can and the Dark Shadow Tribe's founding elders personally escorting Byroyan, the divine dragons didn't dare to act rashly. "Royal, you mother of Asterisker," the ancient desolate Azure Dragon was so angry that he almost exploded. Royal God Dragon shook his head and sighed. "We almost led the dragon race into an abyss of eternal damnation. Among the 5 divine dragons, only the ancient desolate Azure Dragon was afraid. When they passed through the Outer Realm battlefield and were about to enter the sacred boundary, the founding elder beside Lin Can suddenly said, 'King, just now, it was as exciting as walking on a knife's edge.' Even with the help of the founding elders, it wasn't easy for Lin Can to take Lin Chen away. Fortunately, the divine dragons retreated. Lin Can grinned and said, This is the Lin clan's show of pretentiousness. It's just saving the world. Forget it." Byroyan suddenly turned around and looked at Lin Can. She said seriously, "I really have to thank you this time." Lin Can hurriedly waved and said with a smile, "Sister-in-law, you're welcome. Big brother and I went through life and death together. How could I retreat at a critical moment like this? This is what I should do." Byroyan smiled gratefully. "If it wasn't for you this time, the consequences would be unimaginable. In a way, Lin Can save Lin Shun and the Empress lives. He also saved the entire human race. The Dark Shadow Tribe didn't play a very strong role in the battle, but they saved Lin Chen twice at the most critical moments. Every time, it was a critical moment. If it wasn't for Lin Can, Lin Shun, and Luo Yao or would have to die when the sword god and saber god returned. If Lin Qin hadn't arrived at the critical moment and warned the dragon race, the divine dragons might have already attacked. At that time, the outcome and fate of the various races would be completely different. The two great reversals were all thanks to the Dark Shadow tribe's support. The most special and youngest Dark Shadow King in history had completed an operation that was worthy of the Dark Shadow tribe's name. Born in the void, born as a shadow. He controlled everything in the dark. He controlled everything in the dark. Lin Qin said, "You didn't expect this, did you? I'm the one who showed off the most." Chapter 1861. Time flew, and a month had passed since the battle. The demon-human army retreated, and except for a small number of dragon kings stationed in the strange realm, the dragon army also left safely. And the leader of all this battle, Lin Shun, was gradually recovering from his coma. During this period of time, Lin Can's protection of Lin Shun could be said to have never left his side. If there was any movement, it would not be able to escape the senses of this king of shadows. Strange realm, at the border, reed flowers swayed in the wind and snow. In the wooden house, when Lin Shen opened his eyes, 3 beautiful dimples came into view, and he subconsciously muttered to himself, "Where am I? The train station or Mengpa station?" Ning Qingxian held his hand, tears in her eyes. "Lin Lang, everything is fine." Lin Shen got up in a daze and grinned. "So it's Qingxian? I almost didn't recognize you in your clothes." "Bai Ruan. Lung Yueqi." Boom! When the Dragon King bloodline aura in his body soared and broke through a new realm, Lin Shun came back to his senses. Is the battle over? Where's Yao?" Byron said helplessly. She woke up half a month ago and returned to the demon-human galaxy to heal. She asked you to wait for her here. Hearing this, Lin Shun breathed a sigh of relief. However, his condition had improved greatly in a month. Fei Wuxuang and Yu Wangsheng continued to provide the most high-end treatment for Lin Shun. Although Lin Chen's battle prowess was abnormal, he was still in the saint realm. If he was a true god, the servants wouldn't be able to heal him. Pushing open the wooden house, Lin Shun found that the place he was brought to was actually Luo Yao Er's former hometown. Looking at the swaying reed flowers, Lin Shun could not help but sigh. "Every time I think of here, I will think of the wonderful memories I had with, oh no, with Yao Er." The 3 women narrowed their eyes, as if they had heard something incredible. The gazes of the fairies behind him made Lin Chen laugh. Before he could quibble, Lin Can's figure appeared and gave his big brother a bear hug. "Big brother, you're finally awake." "Oh my god, I've been scared out of my wits." Lin Can briefly explain the matter of the Dragon Clan. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows. "Oh, looks like I've been treating the dragons too well." Lin Can grinned. "Do you want us to take care of the dragon race?" Lin Chen smiled and said, "Don't try to trick people. We're civilized people, so we have to know when to stop. If you catch them, just beat them to death." Lin Can. Lin Chen stepped into the air and said with a smile, "Everyone, please give me a moment." The 3 women were just about to follow him, but then they heard Lin Chen's words, which made them seem like celestial immortals descending to the mortal world, bashful like delicate peaches, hiding the moon and putting the flowers to shame. "After I clean up the battlefield, we will return to the 9 prefectures to get married." Lin Shun went to the extraterritorial battlefield again and released the Holy Dragon. Boom! The pale green dragon claws glowed with golden light, and dragon chi rose. The characteristics of the ancient Taishi dragon and the ancient Taizhou dragon perfectly merged into one. I just broke through and reached 32 million holy dragon bloodlines, which is exactly 32 million supreme power. Lin Shen smiled knowingly. Lin Shen looked around and saw endless light flashing in the extraterritorial battlefield. They were all elemental light balls. In this great battle, he had not taken away all the elemental light balls. At most, he had taken away a small part of them during the battle. Lin Shun snapped his fingers, and all the phantom doppelgangers appeared, and he instantly used his movement technique. This time, I've injured 4 demon supremacies, killed 7 demon emperors, 4 true gods, 6 true god doppelgangers, and the entire upper echelon of the demon race. Let me see how many elemental light balls I've obtained. This activity of collecting the elemental light balls would be unprecedentedly vast. Just nice. Lin Chen's holy cavern had recovered a little. His holy cavern's capacity was extremely large, and even a 9th grade saint-grade alchemist like Yu Wangsheng could not fill up 1/10 of his holy cavern's holy cavern. He was simply like a monster. The doppelgangers and Dragon King were in charge of the elemental light balls, while Lin Chen was in charge of collecting the dropped elemental treasure chests. Obtained 500 million high-tier holy essence, 70 million high-tier holy blood, 10,000 high-tier holy spirit, 900 high-tier holy rune energy. Obtained saint energy, 5,060 points of fire, 2,400 points of water, 1,600 points of Saint Heaven's Path. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2 random top-grade orange alchemy handprint fragments, 4/5. Open divine attribute treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for obtaining fire attribute peerless odd crystal, fire god flame. Open demon emperor exclusive treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Eye of the Demon God. This is an eye condensed from the attribute of the Demon God King. It has insight into the disguise, weakness, demonic blood ability, movement trajectory of all demons below the Demon God King. First, it was the elemental treasure chest dropped by Fire God Huangfu Xian, which was an eye-opener for Lin Chen. Like the Demon Emperor, the gods were crushed to pieces by Lin Chen, who had transformed into the Golden War God, and only their attributes were left. 2 fragments of a peerless odd crystal and a top-grade orange alchemy handprint. When he held the pentagonal fire jade, it was as though he was holding the 10,000 layers of fire plane. With just a thought, he could trigger countless flames, and there were signs of divine fire burning, which completely moved Lin Chen. He was about to lose his life searching for a top-grade odd crystal in the Divine River Galaxy. What did a peerless odd crystal mean? It was unique. Lin Chen had to refine more than 1,000 high-tier odd crystals to match the attribute growth brought by a single top-grade odd crystal. Then wouldn't a peerless odd crystal be equivalent to 1,000 top-grade odd crystals? It was simply heaven-defying. In the history of the three-dimensional universe, peerless odd crystals had appeared no more than 3 times. The one in Lin Chen's hand now might be the last one in the world. There was also a jade-green eyeball that the heaven-burying Devil Emperor had dropped. It was sparkling and translucent like a precious jade, and it entered Lin Chen's glabella. Lin Chen felt a warmth in his glabella as another gaze appeared. The Eye of a Demon God. With this divine item, all demons would have nowhere to hide in front of Lin Chen. Good stuff. All of them are good stuff. Lin Chen excitedly put away the only peerless odd crystal and looked around. There are still many attribute light balls in the extraterritorial battlefield. I'll leave them to my clone and Dragon King. His clone and Dragon King went all out, collecting the attribute light balls while refining the attributes for Lin Chen. Seeing that the holy power was beginning to replenish, Lin Chen used his movement technique at full speed and rushed in the direction where water god Zhuge Taichu escaped. A few days later, Lin Chen arrived at the location where Zhuge Taichu was killed and took the floating attribute treasure chest in the air. Obtain the Godhead attribute treasure chest. After opening it, you will obtain Immortal Godhead Fragment, 3/3. The Godhead Fragment has been fused. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the complete Immortal Godhead. Immortal Godhead, Nirvana Rebirth, Immortal Rebirth. Consume a large amount of Heaven Tao points to activate. It has the ability to heal injuries instantly, unless the host is instantly killed into nothingness. Opening the key treasure chest, the host has obtained Heaven Tao Attribute Picking System version 9, 0 update key. Minimum cultivation requirement to use the update key, Sacred King. Chapter 1862. After taking the attribute treasure chests and attribute light balls that Zhuge Taichu had dropped, Lin Chen's cultivation had reached a critical point. As long as he wanted to, he could break through to a new realm at any time. Lin Chen turned to the area outside the divine river star system. It was the place where Sword God and Knife God had escaped. They were both very far away. Without the War God set support, Lin Chen would have to spend a lot of time to reach there. 10 days later, Lin Chen arrived at the location of Sword God's sword extinction. A pitch-black divine light shot up into the sky. It was actually a light pillar emitted by the attribute light. Lin Chen had never seen a black attribute treasure chest before. This was the first time. Lin Chen stepped into the center of the divine light and took the treasure chest in the attribute light pillar. Obtain Godhead Attribute Treasure Chest. Upon opening it, you will obtain an energy-type Godhead, Divine Guidance Fragment, 1/6. A pitch-black, circular Godhead fragment that was emitting a vast black light floated in front of Lin Chen. Lin Chen had a feeling that even his gaze and body were being sucked in. His intuition told him that if the power in this Godhead fragment exploded, he would most likely be in trouble even if he was in the Godslayer state. Divine Guidance, Godhead, consumes a large amount of heavenly path points to activate four-dimensional godly power to form a supergravity barrier. Within a specified range, it can activate four-dimensional godly power to crush enemies and shrink the barrier. The range is up to the host's discretion. It can be activated within the host's primordial spirit's range of perception. If I can collect it completely, this will definitely be a Godhead that's even crazier than the Divine Elephant Godhead. Lin Chen was shocked. The pressure that this item gave him was even stronger than the Divine Elephant Godhead. This was just a fragment. If it was a complete Godhead, how terrifying would it be? It was unimaginable. I'll keep it first. If I have the chance, I'll test its power again. Lin Chen kept the attribute light balls of Sword God, Sword Extinction. Hundreds of attribute light balls of terrifying quality were all absorbed into Lin Chen's body. Then, for days later, at the border of the divine system where Knife God had died. Open Special Attribute Treasure Chest. Host received Orange Grade Top Alchemy Handprint Fragment, 5/5. Host can synthesize a complete alchemy handprint at any time. Divine Treasure Chest opened. Congratulations, you have obtained a permanent Top Orange Talent Fragment. Ultimate Defiant, 1/6. Permanent Ultimate Heaven Defying Innate Talent. The system has determined that it is Orange Rank Peak. The corners of Lin Chen's mouth twitched fiercely a few times. It was actually a fragment of the eternal Ultimate Heaven Defiant. Breaking through his defense was an instant kill. The most insane talent in history had actually dropped a permanent fragment. No wonder he was able to kill an opponent who was 2 realms above him. The more difficult it was for the host to fight, the more ridiculous the probability of dropping a top-grade treasure would be. If I can gather all the permanent ultimate heavenly defiance, theoretically speaking, my chances of winning any battle won't be 0. If he could use the Golden Battle God set and the ultimate heaven defying innate skill, no matter how desperate the situation was, as long as these 2 trump cards could be used, Lin Chen would always have a chance to turn the tables. Saber God. Oh, Saber God, you are such a good person. It also comes with the final item, the top orange handprint fragment. Lin Chen sighed and kept the remaining attribute light balls in one go. Next, it was the location where the 3 veteran Demon Emperors, Calamity Demon Emperor, Heaven Fiend Demon Emperor, and Bloodthirsty Demon Emperor, had fallen. Lin Chen pushed forward at full speed and arrived at his destination in 7 days. Compared to the 3 new Demon Emperors, the attributes dropped by the 3 veteran Demon Emperors did not disappoint Lin Chen. The amount of blood and energy they dropped was simply massive. As for the attribute treasure chest, there was only one. Yet, it made Lin Chen ecstatic. Open Divine Treasure Chest. Congratulations, you have obtained a permanent top orange talent fragment. Ultimate Heavenly Defiant, 2 out of 6. Open divine treasure chest. Congratulations, you have obtained a permanent top orange talent fragment. Ultimate heavenly defiant, 3 out of 6. Open divine treasure chest. Congratulations, you have obtained a permanent top orange talent fragment. Ultimate heavenly defiant, 4 out of 6. 3 ultimate heavenly defiant talent fragments. Lin Shun was only 2 fragments away from becoming a permanent ultimate heavenly defiant, and he would have the strongest trump card combination. My blood, energy, and saint-level essence have accumulated to a state of limit. It's time to break through to a new realm. 10 days later, Lin Shun returned. This time, he had used a month's time just to collect the attribute light balls. At this time, in the sacred boundary, all the experts were recovering and recuperating. Rumble. Suddenly, the entire sacred boundary shook. What's going on? The demon-human army is attacking again? No, there's no demon-human aura. It's the fluctuation of saint power. Impossible. This energy covers the entire sacred boundary. What kind of saint power can cover such a wide space-time? A large number of sage kings came out of seclusion and looked at each other in shock. The space-time of the sacred boundary shook continuously, and beams of 9-colored saint light shone on the sacred boundary. It was as if some shocking power was about to awaken and rule the world. When the sage kings looked up, they were completely shocked. The rotating 9-colored saint light vortex expanded like an astrolabe and continued to expand, covering the entire sacred boundary. Rumble, 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 rumble. The saint light vortex erupted with terrifying power, releasing endless saint power that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Just from the direction of the extraterritorial battlefield, it was as if endless power had swept through the sacred boundary. It's the phenomenon of a saint breaking through. The sage kings were shocked. This breakthrough phenomenon that could easily kill a reincarnation sage was actually just a saint breaking through? How freakishly talented must a saint be to have such a phenomenon? In the highest sky of the heavenly sacred territory, when Xin Wudi, Long Tianxi, and the other quasi-gods and reincarnation sages looked into the sky and saw the figure in the saint light vortex, the corners of their mouths couldn't help but twitch, and their scalps went numb. What a monster! Qin Wudi smiled bitterly in his heart. He, the first on the saint talent list, was as weak as a baby in front of that person. We're witnessing the birth of the most freakishly talented person in our race. Long Tianqi sighed. His saint power is starting to move closer to the Na Xing realm. Such powerful saint power, but he's only a 7th-level saint. What a freak! If he reaches the Sage King realm, who in the world can stop him? I'm afraid he'll be the strongest sage. When the many supreme experts looked into the sky, their admiration for the founder of the new era of the human race reached an unparalleled peak. The figure in the 9-colored saint light vortex was Lin Shun. Previously, Lin Shun had opened 58 saint acupoints and was a 6th-level saint, late-stage life, and death realm. Now, all his accumulated power was unleashed. 59th Saint Acupoint, open. 56th Saint Acupoint, open. 51st Saint Acupoint, open. Holy light danced in the air like dragons, and countless holy light beams broke through to a whole new level with unstoppable force. The saint power entered the saint acupoints and condensed like stars. This was the Na Xing realm. Lin Shun had stepped into the 7th-level saint realm. Apart from that, the power of his physical body was also surging. Although most of the chi and blood attributes were absorbed by the Dragon King, even if the main body absorbed a small part of the chi and blood attributes, the body refining realm would still skyrocket. It wasn't over yet. Lin Shun's realm was still soaring wildly all the way. Chapter 1863. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying saint power rushed into the sky and penetrated the 63rd saint point. Like a dragon, the saint power continued to surge toward the new saint point. The mountain sea prison could not compare to even 1/10,000th of it. The number of attribute light balls Lin Chun absorbed this time was unprecedented and could be called abnormal. There were the human gods, the 7 demon emperors, the demon god king's remains, the female Empress Heaven slaying demon blade, all the higher-ups of the demon race, the clones of the true gods, and so on. The number of attribute light balls was in the millions. Chi, 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 rumble. Lin Shin broke through 10 Saint Acupoints in a row. 136 Saint Acupoints flickered with hexagonal starlight as they radiated a brilliant saint aura that seemed to be indestructible. It covered the heavens and the earth, enveloping the myriad planes and shaking the entire holy world. Even across the extraterritorial battlefield, many human experts were still shocked. 136 Saint points. He's only at the late-stage star realm. He has twice as many Saint points as we do. What monster! But even if he has twice as many Saint points, it's still far from reaching the level of a true god. His Saint power is comparable to a god's power. Long Tianqi and the rest, as well as the top 3 saints on the Saint talent roll, stared at Lin Chun in the extraterritorial battlefield in shock. This scene was too shocking to the mortal world. Lin Chun had embarked on a path that the human race had never imagined. Lin Chun's foundation was so strong that it was almost heaven-defying. This time, he had used the opportunity of eliminating the gods to break 10 Saint points consecutively. It was the moment when he was on par with a true god. However, it was as if he would not stop until he was strong enough. Lin Chun's Saint power was so boundless that it shocked the Wuji old man. He can still continue to break through. The stronger one's foundation, the more they needed to accumulate. For example, Lin Chun needed 5 billion high-grade Saint essences to advance from 61 Saint points to 62 Saint points. In that case, he would need 20 billion high-grade Saint essences to advance from 62 Saint points to 63 Saint points. Every time he advanced, the amount of Saint essences required would increase exponentially. Another 2 dragon roars resounded in the air as Lin Chun's cultivation broke through to the 69th and 70th Saint Acupoints, both of which were opened. The consummation of the receiving star state. Every time a nascent star cultivator opened a Saint Acupoint, their total basic Saint energy would increase by 20%. Lin Chun's life and death realm-based Saint energy was at 26 million venerable energy, and 20% of it was 2 million venerable energy. Furthermore, he had also received a double boost from the mental cultivation method and a triple boost from supreme god possession, so he had a total of 28 million venerable energy. 2 million supreme force plus 28 million supreme force. In other words, every time Lin Chun opened a Na Xing Saint Acupoint, he would gain 26 million venerable Saint energy. What kind of concept was that? It was equivalent to every time Lin Chun opened a Na Xing Saint Cave, he would obtain the total amount of holy energy from the previous 60 Na Xing Saint Caves. 10 Na Xing Saint Caves would give him 260 million venerable energy. Adding on the life and death realm foundation, he would have a total of 286 million venerable energy. Such battle prowess was almost on par with Lin Chun when he was in the state of God Slayer. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Chun's Saint energy shone brightly, and 140 hexagonal starlight shone from his body. His Saint Acupoints were like a sea of stars, exuding an endless amount of Saint energy. The consummation of the receiving star state had the battle prowess of a true god. Since the beginning of time, there was only one person like this. For those who had just entered the deity realm, their godly energy would be comparable to 100 million venerable energy, and they would be able to crush saint kings and reincarnation saints. After breaking through to the deity realm, the initial speed of accumulating godly energy would increase, and the 100 million venerable energy would increase rapidly until one's talent could no longer be cultivated. Normally, It would take countless eras for a living being to break through to the deity realm. But in the deity realm, it would only take a few hundred years to accumulate godly energy from 100 million venerable energy to 200 million venerable energy. This was the benefit of breaking through bottlenecks and limits. The current Lin Shun could completely wrestle with an early-stage true god. Finally, after reaching the perfect Na Xing Saint realm, Lin Shen's Saint energy essence poured into the 71st Saint Cave. But the 71st Saint Cave was like a pool of stagnant water. Even when Lin Shen's last bit of essence was converted into Saint energy and poured in, there was no reaction. Sure enough, his foundation was too strong. Lin Shen's cultivation stopped at the perfect Na Xing Saint realm, and he couldn't break through to the Saint Heart realm. Lin Shen sighed regretfully. It's a pity that I can't use such a precious treasure. This is probably what it feels like. It's like I've already married my wife, but I can't consummate my marriage even after taking off my pants. In fact, Lin Shen had the chance to break through to the Saint Heart realm because he had a peerless odd crystal. The energy of a peerless odd crystal could be said to be heaven-defying. The difficulty of giving birth to a peerless odd crystal in the three-dimensional universe was even more difficult than giving birth to a true god. But if he released a peerless odd crystal, Lin Shen didn't have absolute confidence in refining it. The Fire God Flame's odd crystal was a dropped attribute treasure and could be stored in the system space. Otherwise, even with Lin Shen's current strength, he didn't have absolute confidence in suppressing the Fire God Flame's odd crystal. If he couldn't suppress it and released it without permission, it could burn the sacred boundary in minutes. The most terrifying thing was that the odd crystal that had a chance of dropping wasn't like the Godhead. It was a non-system special treasure and could only be temporarily stored once. Once it was taken out of the system space, it couldn't be put back. If I can't refine it and can't put it back in the system space, this thing will be like a large burning nebula. Whoever gets close to it will be in trouble. If I can't refine it and can't take it away, then it'll be really bad luck. Lin Shen retracted his thoughts. He decided that before he had absolute confidence in refining it, he wouldn't touch the peerless odd crystal. Lin Shen looked around his body. His saint meridians were full, his saint spirit was like a dragon, and his saint body was immortal. My body refinement strength, with 500% flesh shell awakening, has finally broken through the limit of 60 million venerable power. My primordial spirit realm is at the peak of the late-stage primordial spirit realm. I'm only one step away from perfection. No matter how difficult it was for humans to refine their bodies, Lin Shen relied on the qi and blood energy dropped by the 7 demon emperors to forcefully push his body refinement realm up. However, the main force absorbing the qi and blood attribute was Lin Shen's Dragon King. The Dragon King's body was now in a state of seclusion. Its foundation had skyrocketed to the realm of 99 million Saint Dragon Meridians. In Lin Shen's Dantian, the Dragon King's appearance transformed into an ancient dragon in the form of Dragon Qi and shrunk into a ball. In its body, there were countless complicated Saint Dragon Meridians with intertwined roots. It was like a gathering of Saint Dragons. The dragon breath was like rivers flowing into the sea, flowing along the Saint Dragon Meridians and slowly condensing into a divine Dragon Meridian. If the divine Dragon Meridian was formed, it would be the descent of a divine dragon. Lin Shen was satisfied. The qi and blood of the 7 demon emperors are indeed extraordinary. I just have to wait quietly for the Dragon King to come out of seclusion. Lin Shen opened the system. Host Attribute panel has been automatically upgraded. Host, Lin Shen, Cultivation, 7th Heaven, Full Circle, High-Grade Saint Essence, 35,205 billion points. Limit, 60 million Venerable Power, Flesh Shell Awakening plus 500%. High-Grade Saint Blood Chi, 1, 23, 0, 24 billion points. High-Grade Saint Spiritual Power, 10. 12 million points. Peak of late-stage primordial spirit realm. High-grade Saint cultivation technique soul essence. 1. 0, 1 million points. High-grade Saint rune energy. 4. 25 million points. High-grade Saint heavenly Tao points. 7. 9 million. Saint talent points. 4. 2 million points. Mid-grade set essence. 0 points. High-grade strengthening points. 8. 2 million points. High-grade Saint elemental energy. 1. 41 million fire element. 420,000 earth element. 580,000 wood element. 360,000 metal element. 1. 56 million water element. 580,000 lightning element. 480,000 wind element. 580,000 light element. 580,000 darkness element. Set column. Ultimate Golden War God set. Charge 0%. Ultimate Wind God set. To be unlocked. Special treasure. Peerless Fire God Flame Odd Crystal. Random Orange Grade Alchemy Handprint. To be unlocked. Divine Spark column. Divine Elephant Divine Spark. Cooling Down. Immortal Divine Spark. Divine Spark Divine Spark Fragment. 1/6. His attributes had skyrocketed. This time, all of Lin Chen's attributes have been automatically upgraded to a higher level. Every attribute had increased by more than 10,000 times or even 100,000 times. Whoosh! Lin Chen flew over and said in surprise, "Big brother, you broke through again. You're too monstrous. I can't catch up to you at all." Lin Chen smiled. "It's okay. Your potential is not inferior to mine. You'll catch up to me sooner or later. Don't be discouraged." Lin Chen chuckled. "Then what are we going to do next?" Lin Chen smiled. "Is there need to ask?" "Of course, we're going to greet our allies, the dragon race." Greet, greet. Speaking of a dragon race, the two brothers smiled. "Lin Chen, there's a good youth who talks about civilization and sets a new trend. Lin Chen, that's right, it's me. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.